What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. What's going on, everybody? Welcome, and God damn it, I forgot to go. Give me 1 second. I forgot. I thought I was ready. I thought and I think the wrong words to go ahead and use. Hold on one. Give me a sec. I hate this. It's all Landy's fault. It is all Landy's fault. Anyway, welcome to the breakdown, episode 682. That's right, 682. And in a moment, you will see. There you go. Episode 682, sponsored by Midnight. And speaking of Midnight, we have the founder and creator of Midnight coming on here today. That's right, we have the founder and creator coming on here today. Charles will be with us at 1 o'clock, 1 to 1:15. And who knows how long the conversation will carry. Also, shout out to Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet in the house. Also, shout out to the official prediction market sponsor of the breakdown. That is Polymarket. That's right. We'll check out Polymarket. We got Landy in the back. He's been waiting. He's been here since 11:30, so he's been waiting quite a while to get on here to talk about men's astrology. Can't wait to go ahead and hear it. So, shout out to TikTok. And let's see, real quick, before we get right to the markets, let's go ahead and look. I got to tell you, the markets are dead. I'm going to talk about what I mean by that when I say the markets are dead, but 1 second, I just want to see something. And yes, I just want you to look again on Getter, okay? Getter, hold on, let's go ahead and pull this up. That's right. People are like, what the fuck is he doing? Why every day? Well, every day I will show you. Hold on. I will show you. Boom. There we go. There we go. We're right there. We're right there. One of the top shows on Getter already. And we're only on there for the last 4 days. Last 4 days. Only 4 days. Only 4 days we've been on Getter. And obviously we're verified on there now. So shout out to working on truth. So working on a lot of things. Okay. By the end of the year, this show will be syndicated. I promise you. It's coming. It's coming. It's hard work. There we go. We're right there. Right there. That's where I like it, man. That's where I like it. But we got to keep working harder. Got to keep working harder. Anyway, let me go ahead and take that off and stop gloating. Okay, and let's go ahead and bring in my friend and co-worker. I guess that's what I'll call him. Landy. Landy, what's going on? Good morning or good afternoon, whatever it is, your time.
Good morning from the West Coast, David. It's good to see you. You know, it is. It's the Wednesday to Thursday kind of reversal setup that we're seeing playing out in markets right now. And realistically, it is a little boring because we kind of talked about where things were going to head yesterday, and now they're heading there. So it gets a little boring for me because it's like, oh yeah, target hit. Nothing's really surprising. I would like
Yeah.
a few surprises, but one of the big things that we've seen is Dixie continues to pump up to a very, very important zone of interest on the daily, and that's between around it's like 99.60 to around 100.4. So, and this is Dixie is paired against a basket of other currencies. And when you see Dixie rising, that means that the dollar is gaining strength against other fiat currencies in this case. And that usually means that traditional markets are going to start to roll, and we have seen traditional markets rolling back to the lows. We talked about oil yesterday a little bit, and I had mentioned that I would not be surprised above $75 a barrel that we see oil bounce to the 90 to 95. Then anywhere above there, in general, I'm looking around 98 to 100 and then $105 a barrel. Right now, I've got Dixie up on the screen. Very important higher term time frame level here that Dixie hit back in 23 and then gained a lot of strength. And this is what I find interesting is 23 through 24 coming into 2025. Now we saw a lot of strength in Dixie in January of 25. We also saw, cryptocurrencies moving up as well. And we get these periods where we see, Bitcoin and the majors, and by virtue of Bitcoin and the majors, having some correlation with Dixie going to the upside, that, we get some nice pumps here and there throughout the cryptocurrency markets. But this time frame back here, we were pulling out of the other side of a bear market into a bull market structure, and you know, we find periods where we will see um, some confluence between the two, or see that they are correlated. And right now, we're looking at Bitcoin still maintaining some strength near the range highs. Now, granted, it doesn't look great here on the daily. It does look like it kind of wants to reject and head back to the downside. But, I think for what we've been seeing in markets recently, I think that it's really just important to watch what oil is doing in some of these key areas. And, I mentioned a few times now between being on here with you, and then also, the Monday, Wednesday, Friday videos that I do for Goxstein. Well, above 75, we're likely going to see oil continue to play to the highs that were just put in. And we actually didn't even get a high locked in on a close, but we definitely have a major swing high. And, anywhere below now 75 to 76 bucks a barrel, we're probably looking at, lower 70s to the support down here around 68. But until then, we could very well see, especially on daily closes above 95, we could very well see oil head back up to, around 104 to 105, which is the daily upper third standard deviation or three standard deviations away from a mean, in this case, a 20 simple basis. Could even play back to the highs into this wider zone at 115 to 130. And the chart will tell us a lot of what's going on before the news does. Yesterday, we saw the nice buyback on this, and then we saw a little bit of news later on in the day about, some oil tankers that got struck and stuff like that. And of course, that brings back speculation to the upside in this case. And when we see oil moving to the upside, you can just go ahead and take a look at Dixie, right? It is the petrodollar after all. And, you can see that Dixie is moving back to the upside. I do think that Dixie's setting up for rejection within this zone, between 99, 60 to around, $100.40. It can get above there and hit some of the key levels overhead. As long as it's closing below 102, it doesn't mean too much on higher term timeframes. And also that would coincide with what I'm looking at or watching closely in oil, which is, maybe playing back to the highs, or if it can't get above and close above 95 bucks a barrel, that it starts to head back down, and that's where we would see, some more weakness back in Dixie as well. So we'll, kinda just watch and wait. Big thing for me, when you see stuff like this, if we continue to see Dixie strengthen, we continue to see oil strengthen and run back to the highs, then I would be keeping a close eye on what's happening in the bond markets, because we do have when yields are going up, sell side pressure, right? There's not a lot of demand. When yields are headed down, that means that your treasuries and bonds are being bought. In this case, you can also use various vectors like, we've got the iShares corporate bond sector for investment grade and high yield. And then we have IEF, which is an iShares product for the 7 to 10 year treasuries. You see they're headed down, yields headed up. TLT is the 20-year from iShares. Of course, this is BlackRock products. But they're good vectors. Like if they're headed down, you're seeing yield head up. If they're headed up, you're seeing yields head down. And if we're seeing that, and we're getting strength in the dollar and strength in oil, we're likely looking at traditional markets headed lower. And right now we have traditional markets right back at the low side structures that I was talking about yesterday, the 200 exponential on Dow. I'm looking for if it does break through to the downside. I'm not totally confident that it's going to, but if it does break through the major zone, it's going to be 45.5 to 46.2, with 45K being the major area of interest that it needs to hold up at to prevent like a really concerted, what many would call a Six Sigma event. We have NASDAQ, kind of plumbing the lows of a range, not doing too much, but it could very easily come down to 24K inside of this bigger weekly and daily zone. And then we have we have SPY just trying desperately to hang on to this low here, which is this low from over here, right around 669 to 670. And we had essentially a close open right around the area that I was looking for, with a swing into one of the areas I was looking for between 655 and 665. If it drops 670, look for 665 lower third standard. Anywhere below there, we're looking for the lows to get ran, probably around 660 to this 662. If that drops, we're looking down to that 655 area, and that's a bigger area between 650 and 658 to 660. It's kind of a 10-point zone, but realistically, it's major moving averages down there, which we did see get hit on futures. This looks like a rollover structure to support, and that would be the major support. And it's all about if it holds up or not. So kind of to sum it all up, for cryptocurrencies, still pretty resilient right now, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything else. The same type of a pattern is playing out on Bitcoin, or that is playing out on Bitcoin, is playing out across all of the majors at the moment. And it's really all about breaking the ranges on closes. We saw a deviation of this range here between 70,500 and 72.2 on Bitcoin. Anywhere above there, 74 to 75 again by the highs. Need to see closes for continuation to go test 78 to 80, which is a major weekly zone, and a retest of the range high, the range lows that were lost, of course, that sent Bitcoin down to this new area. And if 65 5 is holding on closes, then the uptrend is still intact. It can swing down to 65, but if we start to lose 65 for Bitcoin, I'd be looking to the low side structure on the daily close open lows, 62.5. Anywhere below there, 58 to 60 for a swing of the lows. If we start breaking down below there, mid to low 50s is the next big area of interest. Now, this same pattern is playing out across almost every major. So, I got some questions even yesterday in some messages on TikTok. And the main reason that I'm only looking at Bitcoin is because this structure is essentially the same type of consolidation structure on Ethereum and other majors. So, and everything's going to follow where Bitcoin's going, right? So, if Bitcoin breaks out to the upside, you're likely going to see the majors break out to the upside and go for some of the overhead resistances. You see it break to the downside, very likely going to be seeing that playing out in the majors for other cryptocurrencies. And obviously, with all of that said, show me the chart and I'll tell you the news. News always comes after the chart. I'm going to say it again and again and again. Money will move before you ever hear about it in the news. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at, David. I know that you've been busy, had a great show yesterday. But I'm also just, monitoring the situation like everyone else when it comes to the geopolitical environment, the Middle East, and some of the just absolute atrocities in reporting here in the United States.
I gotta say that reporting here is absolute garbage.
Yep.
I don't even, I don't even know. Like, I sit back, like, I just want to say, I want to say this without getting canceled. I'm trying. That's why, like, when you see me hold up at times, it's just like me trying to figure out a way for me not to get canceled, especially on TikTok, right? Shout out to TikTok. By the way, somebody hates the sound effects, so I did it on purpose. You got to be careful on TikTok. Every other platform is great. You got to be careful on TikTok. God forbid you say something, you get a warning for fucking breathing. But, I've been watching, I've been looking into mainstream media a little bit. I don't like watching mainstream media at all, but I've been tuning in for 5 to 10 minutes to see, like, what are they saying? How are they reporting on the events in, let's say, the Middle East, in the Gulf? And I don't know. You would think it's almost like they want America to lose. That's how it comes off. You have let's go ahead and even bring in Nick Fuentes. He came out and he's like, I hope Iran wins. Like, this is not normal behavior. Like, these kind of conversations, these kind of talking points from supposed American citizens. Wild. Why would you ever want the United States of America to lose? Like, I understand the clickbait. I understand being negative brings in more viewership. But holy shit. Like, and how do these people who go onto these shows, know what is happening, what is literally happening behind the scenes? How do they know anything about the operations that are taking place? Also, I want to say to Senator Murphy, what a douchebag. Here's a guy who's invited into a briefing. Democrats, you want to know? Hold on, let me put this screen up real quick so you guys can see me. Hold on, give me a second. I want you guys to see me when I'm saying this. I don't want to hear a Democrat complain why they don't know anything. Senator Murphy came out immediately onto Twitter. Twitter is a huge platform. Absolutely huge when it comes to news. People rush to Twitter to get their news. It's the truth. Okay? They rush to Twitter to get their news. And here's Senator Chris Murphy writing down, he's keeping some of the information to himself, but he's essentially telling the world that we're losing the war, that we don't have a plan, and he's breaking things down. And then the Democrats wonder why they don't get information. They're lucky Rubio sits down with the Gang of Eight and tells them anything. They wonder why the Trump administration doesn't tell them anything. Don't tell them shit. The first thing you do is run to social media where our enemies are watching. The enemies of the United States of America are watching, and you run. You run to social media. You are a sitting official, a politician that works for the American people, and you run onto social media to blast the Trump administration and America. And are you fucking kidding me? Who the fuck do you work for?
And it's wild because anyone that has any knowledge of military action or has been in the military, or even those who are outside observers but that have been keeping track of, military history and military action in general and keeping up to date on what the most recent open source information is, can tell you that the United States has air dominance, if not air superiority, over Iran, which tells you that Iran is not winning anything right now. This is, and I'm just looking at something about the Iran's. This is news that I'm just on Twitter or X. Iran's new supreme leader is, quote, in a coma and has lost a leg after being seriously injured in airstrikes. This is something that, we already knew. The joke is the cardboard cutout thing, but they had brought a picture of him. It wasn't actually a cardboard cutout, sadly. But, and then there's the grifters. And I'd rather not get canceled. But you know who they are. I know who they are. And they come up every time that there's any kind of military conflict going on. And they always, my opinion is they should be registered as foreign agents. They should register with FARA because it's very clear who some of these people are speaking on behalf of. And there's very highly likely many violations for them not disclosing. And this is an interesting angle for United States senators and Congress people to take in general, and or United States citizens that are being paid by foreign powers through various media outlets to actually start pushing out IRGC talking points and propaganda. And that doesn't mean that there's not propaganda on all sides, from everywhere, not just the United States, Israel, and Iran, but many other countries as well. But realistically, if you're here in the United States and you are, putting stuff out like this that is clearly untrue, you sound like Anna Navarro on CNN trying to twist what happened in New York City, realistically.
Let's read this. Chris Murphy. Here is a sitting politician who works for the American people, who works for the United States of America. Here's what he says. And anybody can see this. Our enemies, the people that despise America, the Iranian official, the regime, the terroristic regime that sits there, they could see this. I was in a 2-hour briefing today on the Iran war. All the briefings are closed because Trump can't defend this war in public. I
They've been
obviously
coming out
can't
and briefing
disclose
us every
classified
day.
information, but you deserve to know how incoherent and incomplete these war plans are. Here's what I can share. So he goes from can't disclose classified information, but you deserve to know. Maybe the lead is that the war goals do not involve destroying Iran's nuclear weapons program. This is surprising since Trump said over and over this is the key goal. But then, of course, we already know airstrikes can wipe out their nuclear material.
That's not true.
I know. Like, it's just, this is a sitting politician. Who is he paid
Well,
by?
Here's the other thing that you got to keep in mind is he literally can't disclose anything related to classified information that he learned in there. So every single post that follows anything that he just said after the first post is complete bullshit because he can't disclose anything that he heard. This is all literally BS. All of it. I read through this post thread as well. He has he has an idea of what he's talking about in that he is trying to politically position this for Democrats in the upcoming midterms by painting a picture that somehow this is going to either be a forever war or that we don't have any idea what the goals and objectives are, even though CENTCOM has come out. We've had the Joint Chiefs of Staff come out. We've had the president come out. We've had Rubio come out. We've had the Department of War Secretary Hegseth come out and clearly explain what the objectives are. And there is plenty of open source intelligence that we can even use to verify that those objectives are being completed. So to paint the picture otherwise is to paint the picture in the hopes that people will not go and do any sort of research. And he literally stated that he can't disclose what was talked about in the classified briefings, which tells you that everything that he's putting out there after that is complete and utter garbage and literally just political positioning.
Let's go ahead and give him his time here. Second, they confirm regime change is also not on the list, so they are going to spend hundreds of billions of our taxpayer dollars to get a whole bunch of Americans killed, and a hardline regime, probably a more anti-American hardline regime, will still be in charge. Okay, so what are the goals? It seems primarily destroying lots of missiles and boats and drone factories. But the question that stumped them, what happens when you stop bombing and they restart production? They hinted at more bombing, which is, of course, endless war. Like this, thank God, right is still right, whoever this is. Your lies are pathetic. It really, this person, like they like impeaching people. He should be impeached.
Yep. Well, a lot of them.
I would say this about a Republican too, Landy. Like anybody who comes out like this, I don't give a fuck who's the sitting president, Democrat or Republican. This could have been Biden. You don't do this, man. You just don't. Like you keep shit in house.
Well, there's nothing to keep in house because what he's putting out there is just lies anyway.
But you get what I'm saying to you. Like
I get it, but I don't care because they're
these
lies.
are lies, right? But
they're
lies. People believe it, right?
Which is why he can get away with it. Yeah. And there is no repercussions for politicians on either side lying to the American public about anything, right? You know, I was critical, and you can be critical of the administration, of the kinetic action. I was critical of the Biden administration and their actions that they took in Ukraine, in the manner in which it was done. But I wasn't sitting here going, man, Russia's like gonna win in less than 2 weeks or 4 weeks, like you had a lot of these pundits come out and say. And it was very interesting, right? It was right to be critical of how the money was moved, why it was moved. It was critical to analyze how that situation came about, but to actively root for the United States or the United States interests to lose in a kinetic conflict is to actively cut your nose off to spite your face. And what's interesting is this is how weak Republicans are. Republicans didn't really do a lot of, they did some critiquing, but they supported, what was happening in Ukraine in terms of supporting Ukraine, right? And um, where would actively come onto television or onto the timelines and express their support while being critical. And then, you know, obviously Democrats were very for what was for supporting Ukraine, right? We saw all the flag changes in the bios. We saw all the politicians come out. We saw the media be very supportive of Ukraine in defending themselves against Russia, right? Because quote, Vladimir Putin was the big bad guy, right? And still is. So we're going to support kinetic action against him in a reprisal of this invasion. Who supports Ukraine again? Maybe I'm missing something here. Um, I think it's Putin is supporting the war of his troops in Ukraine. And then also he is supporting and has supported Iran for a very long time, as does China. And they were exponentially expanding their ballistic missile program. They were restarting, I forget the mountain actually. It's one of the deeper ones, I believe, that was just struck. But they were actively restarting their nuclear ambitions. This has been verified through open source intelligence. It's been acknowledged by the administration and international bodies, which also voted yesterday in the UN to condemn Iran because that's all they really do over there is condemnations. Um, but this is you roll with the administration's decision on these things. I did with the Biden administration, even though I was not a fan of Biden or his administration or their policies. I'm not going to sit here and root for the United States interests to lose or the United States to lose. And that's really what a lot of these people are doing as American citizens. And it's very odd to me. Tells
So
you how
weird.
much money, how much foreign money is in our political environment and our mainstream media environment here in the United States. We've been essentially fully infiltrated with foreign dollars and no disclosure on the other side of that, including
It,
politicians.
it, it gets me pissed off. You got political influencers. You got politicians that are pushing this wicked agenda. Like you said, they're not registered, they're not disclosing, and here we are. You turn on every single mainstream media network, and it's all about like absolutely destroying this administration. That's the messaging. It's just like, okay, there's maybe a few news channels, but think about it, the few news channels that report or try to report correctly, they don't have the visibility as these other, more liberal channels have. So you
Well,
got the NPRs, you got the NBCs, you got the ABCs, you got the CBS, you got CNN. You can name so many channels that they're not rooting for Trump. They're not
I,
rooting
I
for his
agree.
success. They're not rooting for his administration to succeed. CNN is out there in Iran, and they're so happy. Why would Iran let in CNN? What do you
Well,
think? Because they're going to report in the favor of the United States of America
yeah,
and the Trump
exactly.
administration? No, they're going to be reporting saying how Trump is losing and how the administration's losing and how Iran is stronger than ever. That's
Yeah.
what they're doing.
eh,
CNN, an American company,
Well,
is out there right now reporting.
this as well as I do, right? Like mainstream media is dying. I mean, when you have single shows on Fox News that are doing better than all of the other networks combined, just in a single show. It's telling you where the public is shifting. And I don't care what people's opinions are of this. You don't have to like Fox News, but the public clearly does. And then where is the rest of the information disseminated? Where are people going for their news? You said it earlier, Twitter or X, right? And this is where a lot of the special interests have been focused on picking up talent in terms of influential personalities. And, you grease a palm here and there, and you can get them to completely shift their positions. And we're seeing that in what I like to call the fake right and the woke left. And you see, what's interesting is there's a lot of very left leaning people that I know that understand that the woke left is not representative of their values and of their policies that they'd like to see implemented. Just like people on the right understand that there's the fake right that is just, they're literally at the extremes to get you to pick a side and defend it, no matter how asinine it is, and then infight, and then they'll flip flop. And they continuously do this, especially on the fake right. It's been a concerted effort to build their way into the MAGA movement and then flip it, or black pill it. And then on the left, it's, go to the extreme left and then come back to the center and try to flip that audience. And it's a big deal on X right now about the fake right influencers, but it's been just as big of a deal on the left as well. And it's all to get the population fighting with each other about every little thing and not keep a focus on our nation and holding our politicians to account and actually fixing things here in our own house, and as well as taking care of longstanding problems that have prevented us from fixing things in our own house or have caused existential threats to the United States and our interests. And that's really what they don't want you to focus on. And honestly, I would say that it's working, but I think the people are smarter than that. I think people are waking up to that fact
100%.
in the majority, not the fringes.
I gotta keep my cool. It's not anger. It's more like passion. Like I'm passion. I love America. Born and raised, born on the soil. Love the United States of America. Bleed red, white, and blue. When you see something like that, Democrat or Republican come out like that. Very disappointing. It is absolutely very disappointing. But we talked about the markets. We talked a little bit about politics. By the way, guys, if you didn't check out Landy's recap yesterday, go check it out. It came out at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's up on X. You go on to X/Twitter and you look for @CryptoLandy. You can go ahead and see the show. For some reason, I can't comment on it. I don't know if there's a glitch. I couldn't comment on it, but I went ahead and did. I did like it. So, Landy delivers, man. Best TA guy in the game. Shout out to Landy.
Somebody said in the chat, DG isn't mad. He's just disappointed. Oh, that's great. Shout out to Web3 in the chat.
But on that note, Landy, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see Landy at 12:15. Hopefully we will be on at 12:15 because Landy's here, always waiting in the background, ready to go. Appreciate you though, waiting and breaking things down for us. And again, please, guys, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, tune into Landy's recap at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Clocks move forward. Some of you guys might be scratching your head. It's 8:30, right? No, it starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You get 20 to 25 minutes sometimes of Landy recapping the entire day for you. So thank you, Landy. Greatest of all time.
David. Yep. Appreciate
That's
you.
That's my boy Landy. That's my boy Landy. The TA champ. He's the TA champ. There we go. That's Landy. Shout out to Landy. That's right. You go check out Landy. You give Landy a follow. You also give him a follow on TikTok. You're tuning in on TikTok. You like Landy's breakdowns, give him a follow. It is Landy.btc at Landy.btc. See, I remember. I don't need a piece of paper. I remember. Okay. Go give him a follow. Go give my man a follow. Go give my man a follow. Yeah, I seen a lot of stuff come out from, our own people, our own politicians, fake media, fake news, reporting. It's just, regardless of how you feel, man, you can't just shit on America, man. You just can't do it. Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break. And after the commercial break, we'll be joined by a legend, a GOAT, my friend, who will be on here for the first time. For the first time since the rebrand of the show. We'll talk about that. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh, wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Welcome back to the breakdown, episode 682. Sponsored by Midnight. That's right, sponsored by Midnight. And let's bring in the creator, and the founder of Midnight, and that is Charles. Charles,
Hey,
my
hey,
good friend
hey.
Charles. Hey. What's going on, Charles? It's been a while.
I love the background, man. You're looking good. You're looking refreshed. How's everything on your side of the aisle?
I'm good. I was thinking about shaving my head as well. I seen you shave your head. You popped up on
Did I
live
tell you
show.
the
I'm like,
story? How I shaved my head. What happened? Did I tell you
What-
this story?
no, why? I was going to
Okay.
ask you why. Before everything else, I was going to ask you why.
Okay. So I was up in Gillette, Wyoming at my clinic, and my best friend, his name's Matt. I've known him for more than 25 years. So I say, Matt, I need to get a haircut. He's like, oh, I know the best barber in the world. This guy's so good. He's the guy, go get your haircut. So I show up. The dude is 70 years old and he legit has Parkinson's. His hands are shaking like this. He's trying to cut my hair with the Parkinson's. I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. So, well, this is my friend Matt just fucking with me because we've known each other since we're 12 years old. And so after about 20 minutes, I said, look, why don't we just do the buzz cut? So he went and grabbed the clippers and went through the hair. So that's how I ended up with the short hair. I just didn't trust that barber. He's like, you want me to shave your neck? I'm like, no, you have no business being in hair. There's professions you can have, but this is not one of them.
All right, because I came onto social media and I see you're doing videos, and there's things that I want to talk to you about because I've
Yeah.
seen the videos. I know you don't go on X no more. Good for you. I don't either. Like it's here and there. Obviously, the show is streamed to X. It is also streamed all over the place on TikTok and YouTube, whatever. But here and there, I make a few comments and I'm out. But I seen your video, and the first one was about the Clarity Act, and you were just completely passionate. And then somebody said that you're having your Britney Spears moment because you shaved your head off. I'm like, and I'm laughing. It's all in good fun. It was a joke.
Yeah.
But you said something that I want to touch on, which was the Clarity Act. You
Yeah.
really went in, and I've had so many people from DC stop by. Even Perianne Boring, she stopped by.
Yeah.
We talked about the Clarity Act and stuff like that. I hate it. I don't want it to pass. Like I've been saying, just to pass a bill doesn't make sense. And then in the future, they'll fix up the bill. They'll make amendments. They'll make it. No, why don't you make it better now before passing it? So now that I have you here, what lit you on fire that day? Like, what was it that made you go on and just absolutely? You went absolutely ape shit. I've rarely seen it. You've done it here and there, but you really went in.
Well, people have to understand, I've been working at this since 2022. Senator Lummis is the Wyoming senator. We know Wyoming very well. In fact, we just got a law passed in Wyoming, the Stem Cell Freedom Act, unanimous. Every Democrat voted for it. Every Republican voted for it. Not a single person. The governor, who we had the disagreement with on the stablecoin thing, he signed it. Okay, so when I get legislation, we actually are pretty good at doing bipartisan legislation. So back in 2022, we had something called the FIA, the Financial Innovation Act, and it was Senator Gillibrand, who's a Democrat, Senator Lummis, a Republican, and this was during the Biden administration. Big bill, and it was modular, and each section covered a different part of the market structure. And the basic idea was that we would pass it in pieces systematically over a multi-year period, and each piece would update and modernize some part of U.S. law so we could build up to a final law for cryptocurrencies, and it would work pretty well for everybody. So we were making meaningful progress. I spoke before the House Ag, and it was working real well. But then guess what happened? FTX. Whole market collapses, all the appetite went, and Biden decided to go anti-crypto. So he went empowered Gensler, and the rest is history. So when Trump got elected, the original strategy was, let's go do this in pieces and let's break it down. But then Sachs comes in. He's like, we'll just do a big, bold, flashy bill and all this other stuff. And the challenge is that the bill doesn't address the heart of the issue, which is what is a security? And also the heart of the issue is, let's make being a security not a big problem. Securities law, why don't you want to be a security? Because the disclosure and liquidity issues. You cannot disclose in a decentralized way. And if you are a security, you can't be listed on normal exchanges like Coinbase or Binance or other things. You have no liquidity. So you can't have your users, you get no liquidity, your token doesn't go up, and also you're forever centralized as a project. So the first thing that should be done is, let's create a new category of security, a digital security for real world assets. Let the blockchain be a disclosure vehicle for that, and then create a model where you can be decentralized but be a security. Then once you have that, then Brian Armstrong doesn't care anymore about whether stable coins are securities or not, because he has a compliance way he can list them, do all these things, and he can pay the yield. But instead, what they did is we're not going to touch securities law at all. Okay, we're just going to leave it there, even though it's 93 years old. And then we're going to try to make everything a commodity. But here's the problem. The CFTC was never set up to regulate the markets like the Securities Exchange Commission. So if you make everything a commodity, you have to build a miniature Securities Exchange Commission in the CFTC. And then here's the problem. They have no funding to do this. So where are they going to find the 500 to 1,000 people to do that? So they won't do it in a timely manner. And then the SEC is going to get pissed off because power is being taken from them. So here's what they did. They put into the bill over 137 amendments throughout last year because of very poor leadership on Sachs' part. They put in the bill to make everything a security by default. That's a new project because they have this mature blockchain test. Every single cryptocurrency that was launched, including Bitcoin, would have been a security under this test that's currently inside the bill. XRP, Ethereum, Cardano, Bitcoin itself, under the mature blockchain test that they have that's currently in this bill. Then you have to go to the SEC and say, please, Securities Exchange Commission, I don't think I'm a security anymore. Make me not a security. What test will they use to graduate you out? It's not written. So the SEC unilaterally gets to write as judge, jury, and executioner whatever test they want to decide whether you're not a security anymore. How is this any different from what Scary Gary was doing to us, where he said everything's a security by default? So literally, they took the whole playbook of Joe Biden and Scary Gary, and they just put it in the bill. And then they're trying to say it's going to be the greatest thing ever because XRP and Cardano and Solana, all these other things will get an exemption because we're mature. But all new projects will start with this big disadvantage and effectively be regulated out of the market. Then we put into the bill developer protections. They took them out. So when you were a DeFi developer, you didn't have any liabilities. So you wouldn't have Tornado Cash or Samurai Wallet. They took them out. And then all these other things we put in the bill, they took out. So it does nothing for DeFi. Every new project is a security by default. There's no regulating function for constraining the Securities Exchange Commission. There's no funding increase for the CFTC. And now the CFTC under this bill will have to be the next SEC. Here's the other thing. They have to do this in a timely way. There's 2-3 years worth of rulemaking that after the bill passes will have to be done. If the CFTC doesn't have the resources to do it, what stops them from slow rolling the rulemaking? So we're all waiting for the rules to come through. Although they'll never do that. The CFPB that Obama passed back in 2011, they're still making rules 15 years later, decade and a half. So where's the timeliness on the rulemaking? The other thing I tried to put into the bill, we got into Genius Section 14, but we couldn't get into clarity, was getting NIST involved, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. See, why would NIST be involved in financial regulation? Because they're all the engineers and scientists who work for the U.S. government to standardize all of our government's technology. So you wonder about post-quantum standards, like making our national security, our infrastructure immune to quantum computers. NIST writes those standards. Government procurement standards, they write those things. So who should define a blockchain? An 80-year-old senator who has Alzheimer's and doesn't use a computer, or a person with a PhD in computer science who works at a standards body? Probably the latter. So I wanted to have NIST come in because I didn't trust the Securities Exchange Commission or the CFTC to write statutory definitions about mature blockchain, decentralization, all these other things. I wanted a group of non-regulator engineer scientists that work with industry on a daily basis to be involved in that. Because also, how does the government procure blockchain? How does the government get a blockchain voting system, or the Department of Commerce get a blockchain? Where does the RFP get its definitions from? If they say post-quantum, they say, look up the definition, FIPS 203, 204, 205. Great. What's the blockchain definition at NIST? Nothing there. Again, Sachs doesn't know what he's doing, so he didn't have any involvement in that. He didn't even visit him once. I visited him 8 times. Not once did he visit. And those are the guys that are the gatekeepers for government procurement, the entire federal government, for cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And so they try to do too much in one bill. They had no clue what they were doing. They had no political courage. So they didn't have the ability to touch the third rails, tax policy, and what is a security. Then they inadvertently created a mini SEC where they shouldn't have created, and an agency that's not able to take that. They're a principles-based regulator. They're not like the SEC at all. And they put in no protections for DeFi. And literally the only thing holding up the bill is whether you can get an interest payment on a stable coin. Not the security by default, not the nepotism and corruption, not the lack of definitions, not the insanity on how the rulemaking is going to work, but whether Coinbase can get its yield or not. It's so insane. And it shows you the people in the room shouldn't be in the room. They really shouldn't be. And having spent now 2 administrations and years of my life in this process, every step of the way, and participated in writing laws, over 30 with the state of Wyoming for cryptocurrencies, and also working with other jurisdictions like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, Japan, South Korea, Singapore, Switzerland. Having built I have a lot of experience with these things, of where these things work well and where they don't work well for that. Also, there was no attempt to globalize in the regulation. And they say, oh, we're America. We don't need to globalize. America first, America first. Okay, so when I have DeFi, I can just magically know who's a Korean and who's Japanese and who's Chinese and who's German and who's US? Well, I don't know. No, you can't. Because where's the KYC? We're supposed to not have that, right? So how do you avoid having a situation where you're under the regulation of 60 countries at the same time? And how do you comply with all of them? So only the United States has enough power through transnational things to normalize regulation and create reciprocity. So as an entrepreneur, you only follow one regime and it works. That's the only place we can do it. I can't do that as an entrepreneur. So what they're going to do is make America the worst country in the world to issue a cryptocurrency, and everybody's going to figure out how to block the United States, just like they were doing with Gary Gensler, including the president's sons with World Liberty Finance. They blocked the United States when they did their initial play. Basically, the U.S. will not have a single new crypto project. They're all going to go abroad. That's the consequence of the Clarity Act. So yeah, I'm pretty pissed because if this happened under Gary and Biden, okay, that's what he campaigned on and voted for.
Yeah.
Trump said, I am your crypto guy. I want the United States of America be the best place to found, fund, and run a cryptocurrency business. And here's what he did. He handed it to the banks and people who cut him $25 million checks to be in the room. And he got a crypto czar, has no connection to our industry, never passed any legislation, has no knowledge about crypto legislation or financial regulation, and also made him the AI czar at the same time because, he's not busy enough to regulate a multi-trillion-dollar business. Then he ran a process of exclusion. The people who should be at the table were not. There was no globalization, and there was no prioritization. Start with the definition of a security, because that was the biggest problem. Update and modernize that, and you bring a $10 trillion real-world asset thing into our industry at the same time. Update, modernize compliance law. That's $500 billion a year. It's not working for everybody. Everybody has KYC, KYB, KYT, AML problems. Look at all the fines. JP Morgan Chase, $18 billion in fines in the last 20 years. Fix that and bring it into the blockchain space. Then it's easy to do the stable coin. You regulate them like banks, and then the other side of it, when they offer yield, it's a security, but it's okay. And it's a 2-token asset. Everybody's fine with it because they have liquidity. Then you do the definitions and market structure because you have all the foundational components. And where's the industry participation? We advocated for an SRO, a self-regulatory organization like FINRA, so that the industry had a place to join. We have no SRO. So our only representation is invitation only. Are we invited by the SEC and the CFTC to be in the room? Right now they are, and a lot of people invited cut 8-figure checks to PACs and other things for Trump. What happens when the Democrats win? They shut the door and the entire industry gets kicked out. We have absolutely no say in the rulemaking. So then I did a video where I showed 4 different attack vectors, 4 that I came up with in less than 30 minutes that the SEC could use, just like the FDA does for drug development, to prevent anybody from ever leaving security. Where's the good faith? Do we have trust in the organization? No. By the way, the Federal Reserve was left out of this as well. They're supposed to be the biggest regulator of payments and the stability of our currency, but they have no business or statutory connection to this bill. So they're involved but not involved, and they can be weaponized later on by a different administration to shut things down. FinCEN really wasn't in. OFAC really wasn't in. This is a big problem because that's how they threw CZ in jail the first time, and they're trying again now with Iran. So they weren't at the table. They weren't involved. Why? Because no one from the crypto czar side invited them. You're supposed to get all the government agencies in, right? And bring them to the table and say, what are you guys concerned about? And list it all down, and you try to find the Venn diagram where everybody's happy. The Democrats also, they have very reasonable demands. Some were unreasonable. Some were very reasonable. They said, maybe, just maybe, if you're the president of the United States, you should not be a market participant in markets you regulate, control, and have insider information about. The president knows when the price of oil is going to go up because he knows when we're going to invade Iran. The president knows when certain countries are not going to do well because maybe we're going to invade them, bomb them, or they're going to have a leadership change or something like that. Because there's a whole giant group of people whose only job is to tell the president of the United States that. So maybe the president of the United States should not trade. So here's what happens when you have Trump coin or these other things. What if I want to give Trump money and I'm a foreign leader? All I have to do is just buy his token, make the price go up. And he owns a large chunk of it. And he can sell it anytime he wants. You know what that means? I've just inadvertently given him, in an indirect way, millions to billions of dollars. So the Democrats said the president shouldn't be a market participant if you're going to build this, put in ethics laws saying federal officials can't participate. The people regulating the markets shouldn't participate in them because they have a conflict of interest. We said, can't sign it. So all the bipartisanship went away overnight. We had 70 senators that were willing to pass pro-crypto legislation in December of 2024 before Trump took office. 20 of them were Democrats. Almost none now. We're gonna have to sneak a bill through, like really hard, sneak a bill through with almost no Democrat support. They say, oh, fuck those Democrats, they're all evil. They're going to be in charge at the end of the year. A generic ballot in the House is plus 11 for Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries will more likely than not be the Speaker of the House come January of 2027. So when they're in charge, what are they going to do? They're going to subpoena every single person connected to this thing and drag them before under oath to talk about their financial relationships, their donations, their business models. And you think they're going to be pro-crypto? Think they're going to be like, yo, crypto's the best thing in the world. Yeah. No, here's their talking points. It's not crypto has bad actors and we need to get rid of them. It's crypto is the bad actor. If you Google the House Minority Report that the Democrats wrote about cryptocurrencies, it's like crypto corruption Trump or something. It's like 40 pages long, and they don't make the case crypto's good. They say crypto is a vehicle of nepotism and corruption, and we have to get rid of it. So they're going overtly into Elizabeth Warren's talking points. They're campaigning on it in 2026. So they're going to walk back all their campaign promises in 2027? No. They're going to double down, and they're going to have Scary Gary 2.0. We go from the T800 Scary Gary to the T1000 liquid metal Scary Gary. Okay, Terminator 2 style. We got a new Robert Patrick, Scary Gary. He's coming in, and because they have no incentive to embrace our industry. They've taken a talking point, crypto equals Trump equals bad, which wasn't the talking point in December of 2024. So that's why I'm pissed. That's why I'm so angry about the thing, because it's totally self-inflicted. We could have sleepwalked into beautiful legislation that would have supercharged our markets and brought $10 trillion of assets into America. And instead, for pennies on the dollar, they fucked it all up. They fucked it all up. They kicked all the people out of the room that didn't cut them checks. And then they just ran it their way. And they said, as long as my ecosystem gets a mature blockchain and gets a pass, I'm good to go. What about all the new projects? Fuck those guys. They pulled up the ladder, just like the banks did to us before. And then we go and tell everybody, tell the retail investors, we're different. Crypto's different. We're better than all those guys. We're not. Our industry did the same thing that Goldman Sachs did, Morgan Stanley did, and JP Morgan did through the last 100 years. We did the exact same fucking thing, and we pretend that we're different. And that's why I got so angry about it, Dave.
I let you talk just now because I think the way you're expressing yourself is how a lot of people feel. Like I've talked about it numerous times on this program for weeks now. Like, I'd rather them not pass a bill. Like right now, would you agree? Don't pass a bill. Rather, not pass a bill until you get it right.
Because the problem is that the bill can be weaponized. Right now, we were winning the court cases when Scary Gary was in. So let's leave it in an ambiguous state. Let the leadership change. Let the stink of Trump leave. And then we can reset and talk about it again. It might take a few years, but it's a hell of a lot better because Paul Atkins isn't going to do much at the SEC. He's not going to go after the industry. I'll give Trump credit for that. There's pro-crypto people at the SEC and at the CFTC. So they're not going to go out of their way to harm the industry. We don't need a bill for the industry right now. What we need is first principles thinking, and we need to bring everybody to the table, and we need to have an adult conversation about what this industry needs to look like over the next 10 or 20 years. The two big things are the ability to tokenize everything and to use the blockchain as a mechanism of disclosure. Nothing in the bill recognizes that. It's trying to apply a 20th century 1933 regulatory standard to our industry. Take a step back and say, use the blockchain as a mechanism of disclosure. update and modernize KYC and AML and clean up compliance so it's actually fast and it doesn't cost $1 million to KYB an organization, and then redefine its security. And once you've done those things, then you bring in tons of new things because we take over the global security markets. Everybody just issues in the United States and trades globally. So we bring $10 trillion into the industry. And then using NIST and working with the industry as a whole, write standards, create a self-regulatory organization layer, and then you can pass a market structure bill. And everybody's behind it because the golden goose is here now. Instead, they gave a love letter to the banks, the stablecoin bill, Genius Act, so they can tokenize US dollars, and great. How does that help us as an industry? It's like, okay, so a bank can now make stablecoin yield and they don't have to share it with their users. So they now make like 5% for the rest of time risk-free. Tether has like 300 people. They make more money than Goldman Sachs. And they're actually one of the largest holders of gold in the world. They're buying like sovereign levels of gold because they just don't know where to put their money. They have the Pablo Escobar problem. They're like, where do I put all this cash? It's so problematic, right? So it did nothing for the retail holder, though. Absolutely nothing. So you really want to solve the problem, you solve it there, and then don't kill the golden goose of DeFi. And there's nothing in the bill for that. But you know what? I'm on the outside. I'm out. And let them figure it out. And then a lot of these people on the inside, they do what Trump always does: attack the person criticizing instead of attacking the.
Give it 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with Charles right now. It is the Breakdown, episode 682. It is sponsored by Midnight. That's right, sponsored by Midnight. We're going to get Charles right back. Charles is back with us. Connection is back. Hey, Charles, you're back.
Sorry about that.
No,
But
it's okay.
anyways, what they always do is they just attack the person. Charles is bad. Charles is sour grapes. Charles and this. Okay, what the fuck does that have to do with the price of tea in China? At the end of the day, I'm talking about the definition of a security. I'm talking about handing the SEC God mode over our industry. I'm talking about checks and balances to unrestrained power. And I'm also talking about the fact the bill you guys brought to the table has been modified 137 times since you brought it in. These are facts. Whether I'm saying them or a sock puppet over the internet anonymously is saying them doesn't change facts. And I know this administration has a big problem with facts. We're going to release the Epstein files. Just kidding. But don't worry, we have this war in Iran, but it's not a war. We're just going to go bomb them a little bit. I'm sorry, 150 U.S. soldiers are grievously wounded. About 8 of them have died in just 10 days. At this rate, it's 4 times faster than the Iraq war at its worst time. So is this a war or not? Well, it's not a war. Don't worry, we'll be out in 2 weeks. I don't think the Iranians think that. They're sure as hell not going to consent. All they have to do then is just outweigh, right? They just have to survive for a month or two, unless you're prepared to put boots on the ground. So are we putting boots on the ground or not? And don't you need congressional authorization for that? Oh, don't worry, we're winning. What does winning mean? You never define victories. Oh, well, we're trying to get rid of the nuclear stuff. I thought you did that last year in June. Midnight Hammer. You're naming your operations after gay porn. It's so I thought like that thing got rid of the nuclear weapons. Did they do it? I guess not. And then they tell us Bibi's the one who started the war. Well, we didn't really want to do it right now, but the Israel told us, and then, oh no, actually Israel didn't tell us. Get your lies straight. It's one after another, after another, after another, after another. And then they're going to get destroyed in the midterms, just destroyed. You're not going to win when gas is $5 a gallon and you've started a war and you've lied to your base about Epstein and all this other stuff. And the Democrats are basically at a point like they're in a holy war. They have like Deus Volt Democrat edition, man. They hate Trump so much. And they view these elections as a referendum of that. So you got a lackluster thing where a lot of Republicans don't want to show up. You got Nick Fuentes, he's abandoned. All these others have abandoned. There's a big split now inside the
I feel like Fuentes has always been a Democrat. He's just, a lot of these people have rode the MAGA wave and now they're just coming right back out as who they always were. But
they came in because of a set of things, like, for example, the anti-war. This was a unique thing to Trump because the Republicans were pro-war, the Democrats were pro-war, and you had to be like a Ron Paul guy like me to get any anti-war, or you had to be Dennis Kucinich, and he's like a weird goblin. It didn't work. And then suddenly Trump comes in, and he was the first real guy who was anti-war. He says, I'm not going to start the wars. And to his credit, in 2016, when he got elected, for those 4 years, we didn't have major entanglements. Yes, we killed Baghdadi, and yes, we killed Soleimani and these other guys, but it's like in and out. It's not like boots on the ground. And for the most part, it was peaceful. Jimmy Carter, peaceful. Then he comes in, and in the last 13 months, he's replaced the leader of Venezuela, and he's killed the leader of Iran. And he thinks in his mind like these are going to be short deals, but it's like you break it, you buy it, and so now we are kind of involved very intimately in the governance of Venezuela. And if that fails, bad things happen. And now we're intimately involved in the entire Middle East. Iran has brought 14 countries into this conflict with their bombing. And everybody's just trying to figure out what the hell. And then we've never even defined what regime change means. Like, we want to replace the leader. Does that mean like we're looking for a moderate, crazy cleric? Or are we actually trying to put Reza Pahlavi into power again, like his dad? In which case, how do you do that without a populist uprising inside the country? Like, who's going to do that? And also, who pays for this? We're spending $2 billion a day in Iran right now. $2 billion a day. I thought we were the fiscal conservatives. Remember Doge, when they said they're going to cut the budget and balance the budget and all this other stuff? So we're going to spend $700 billion a year bombing Iran. And by the way, when they bomb us with $50,000 drones. We shoot those down with $2 million rockets. So every time they launch something, 50 grand, 2 million for us.
Would you say that everything that Trump tries to do, he gets stopped by the Democrats? Like, it's just like I'll give you an example.
Did this?
No, but I'll give you this example.
Sure.
Intelligence comes and says, let's say this is what happened. Intelligence comes and says they're 2 to 3 months away from having a nuclear weapon.
Sure.
Okay. Now you're sitting there as the president, whether you like Trump or not. If he doesn't do anything and Iran does something, well, you had all this information. Why didn't you do something? Right?
Sure.
That's one side of the fence. And then he does something now because he's apparently, like, the administration has tried to negotiate with Iran, right? And Iran said, we will not get rid of our nuclear weapons program. Essentially, that's what they said. We're building a nuke. So now he goes after Iran. That's it. He just goes after it, and they're stating that we're trying to end the war, not starting a war. We're ending a 4-decade war against a regime that has sponsored terrorism all over the globe. So, like, I sit back here. I'm trying to be very neutral. If he doesn't do anything, he's going to get ripped apart. Incompetence. He had the files. Intelligence told him.
Yeah.
FBI, CIA, everybody told him. He didn't listen. He does this now. You went to war. You broke your promise. You're gone to war. How can, he's done, we got to sit back for a second. He's done a lot of good things. There have been a few things that we don't like. We can all agree that's, nobody's going to be 100%, Charles.
Yeah.
Nobody. Like, I don't like right now that with the crypto czar. He does nothing for crypto. Maybe AI. I don't know. Maybe it's AI. I haven't seen anything good for crypto. Respectfully.
We've lost the open source American AI movement, by the way. It's all gone to China. Facebook left. No one's making open source US models that are meaningful. So now you got Quem and Kimi K and GLM, and they're all Chinese models for open source AI.
That's crazy.
Yes.
To me, it's just, even from that standpoint, because I didn't get to touch on that. Even Sachs, when Sachs is out here, I just don't know what he does. Like, for me, it would have been better President Trump bring in the cypherpunks from crypto.
Right.
Bring in you and the rest, the Adam Backs. I don't know. Bring in everybody old school into the conversation, and you will get a fantastic bill that will make will make America the crypto capital of the world.
Yeah.
You're not going to be the crypto capital of the world, Charles. Number one, there are 4 agencies or 5 agencies that have a different classification and label for crypto.
Yes.
One is property.
Right.
The other one's commodities. The other one's currency. I mean, Okay, if it's a property, Charles, because that's what the IRS deemed it, right? And that didn't go through Congress. It wasn't passed. They just deemed it to be property. Well, I don't get a 1031, right?
No.
So then how's it property? Or how's it act like a and now people can't spend because you're getting taxed on everything. Now you got a 1099 DA coming out. Nobody knows what the fuck's going on.
Exactly.
CPAs don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Exactly. You know, and that's the fundamental problem. That's why you start systematically and you start writing the definitions down in a very precise way. And then you create a mechanism where they're not damaging and the industry can work as they evolve. That's why standards-driven processes are so powerful, because we have version 1 and version 2 and version 3. Look at HTML. Or look at JavaScript. We had JavaScript 4 and 5 and 6. And so that you can always version, you can update, modernize. But if every time you have to update it, you have to go and pass a new law. And I love this argument. Like, we'll pass a bad law and then, it's magically we can just change it. If that's true, why can't I change the SEC Act of 1933? It's been around for 93 years. Somehow we can't change it. We can't change that one, but we can change the market structure law. Okay. So where am I going to get the political coalition to do that, especially when entrenched interests start making money from the law? The Republicans campaigned relentlessly since Obama was elected to get rid of Obamacare.
Yeah.
It's been like a 20-year journey now, man. I remember it. And where's Obamacare? It's still around. ACA is the law of the land. All the material things of Obamacare is still in play. The Republicans back in the 70s, after Jimmy Carter was president, said we're going to get rid of the Department of Education. It has been a long-standing thing. Reagan got elected. I am going to get rid of the Department of Education. It's been 40-plus years, 46 years. Where's the Department of Education? It's still around. You pass the law, it's there forever. And it's going to be very difficult to change that law. That's why a bad law is so pernicious, because it can be weaponized by the people who don't like us, and it's very difficult to change it. And other things, it's all about evidence. Just real quickly on the Iran thing about the nuclear weapon. In 1992, Netanyahu said Iran's 3 to 5 years away from getting a nuclear weapon. Then in 1993, then in 1995, then in 1996, then in 2009, then 2012, then 2013 to 2015, hundreds of interviews, 2018, 2020s to 2025 to 2026. There's been at least 100 documented cases where they say they are weeks to months to years, depending upon when and how, from acquiring a nuclear weapon. No doubt they were trying to acquire it, and no doubt that's a bad outcome. But you have to weigh these things down, and what we were told in 2025 is the remedy for that is a strategic bomb with a B-2 bomber. Now what we're told is the only remedy is regime change. Okay? We spent the last 26 years as a nation changing regimes. In the case of Afghanistan, we gave it back to the people we took it from, the Taliban. And in the case of Iraq, we gave it to Iran, through Shia proxies in Iraq. So we took one dictator who was anti-Iran and replaced them with a proxy state of Iran. So our track record of regime change is deplorably bad.
Yeah, we're not good with that. We're not, whatever side it is, we're not good.
We would go to the House and Senate, and if anything, for strategy, you involve them because they're the ones who can stop it at any time. So if they're not involved, you have 90 days to win. So what we've told the Iranians, because he decided to unilaterally do this, is all you have to do to win this war, because Democrats hate Trump, is wait 90 days, survive 90 days. That's pretty easy for a regime like that. And then we don't have any money, so we can't keep the war going on, so we pull out. And what have you done? You've replaced an 86-year-old leader who was dying of cancer with his son, who's now really angry because you just killed his dad, who's 50 years old and more radical and extreme. That's what you've literally just done. And you have all the collateral damage. We screwed up on intel because we were in such a rush. So there was an old naval base, and we shot it down. It turned out that they had converted it to a school. So one of our Tomahawks hit and killed 150 kids.
Which is sad. Obviously, they've acknowledged it, and
they
is
didn't
sad.
do it on purpose. It's very clear. The U.S. military doesn't go and kill kids. The problem was that the Iranians play this game.
Yeah.
They move shit around all the time, just like Hezbollah does and Hamas does and these other things. So it'll be a military base one day, a school another day. It's not like they call the Pentagon and say, by the way, just to let you know, we
Yeah.
have now moved kids in here. They do this just in case we hit them so that we lose the PR. So, all these people who are on the fence in Iran, like, should we replace this government or not? Now they're angry because they see pictures of 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds burned to death when a Tomahawk missile hits them. This is what collateral damage does to you. And so when you do regime change, if you're going to do it right, you got to be an operator like Eisenhower was and the CIA was in the 1950s when they put the Shah in. You got to be really smart. You have to have a lot of support. Got to know what you're doing. You can't just walk in, bomb a bunch of people and be like, "Yay, America, everything's great." These people for 47 years, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on their television, what have they heard? Death to America, the great Satan. America is controlled by Israel. They go and burn a statue of Baal. It does not help with Jeffrey Epstein, this type of stuff. So there's this perception that America is a proxy state to a great Jewish conspiracy. That's what they've been fed for 5 decades. And when our own media is showing that Israel probably told America when and how to start the war, and they're doing the decapitation strikes, what do you think that does to the average Persian who's sitting down there thinking about these things? All the things this government is telling me must be true. And then they think to themselves, all I got to do is just wait 3 months or 4 months, and then the Americans will leave because they don't have the will or money to fight us. And there's 100 million people there. And it's just like Afghanistan. If you look at the western part of Iran, it's this huge mountain range. So they can hide drones and missiles there forever. And those can reach any place in the Middle East. Here's the other problem with the Middle East. What people don't understand, it's water. Okay, so if you hit the desalination plants, within 1 week, almost everyone in Saudi Arabia dies, and Abu Dhabi dies, and Dubai dies. They need 16,000% more water than the local water that's produced from nature. So they have to bus it in, they have to pipeline it in, or make it through saltwater conversion plants. Can desalination plants hide from missiles and drones and all these other things? No. So if this escalates and a radical regime gets too much power to damage our allies, they'll destroy the water infrastructure. And there's not enough time or ability to get enough water in to actually give water to these hyper urbanized areas like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So they could literally kill millions of people if they want to. They don't need a nuclear weapon. They just need to shut off the water. It's a huge problem in the Middle East. So that specter is living over all of these Gulf states, and they realize this, and they're, "Oh, don't worry, the Americans will protect you." We can't protect our own bases. We've lost 150 people who have been wounded because our bases have been swarmed by low-cost drones. And these are bases with Patriot missile defense systems and all these other things. Do you think we have those defensive batteries next to the water plants and all these other? No. That's civilian infrastructure. It's not made for combat. So this is the real reality if you push this nation too far of what they're prepared to do. What's the remedy? A ground invasion. That's it. So
I just feel like Iran having a nuclear weapon is, and that obviously that regime having a nuclear weapon is suicide.
sure. And
Because
so
like they'll take everybody with them.
So
Like
then why aren't we willing to do the job properly? If you want to get rid of nuclear weapons, nuke them. We have nuclear bunker busters that we created in for Afghanistan. We never ended up using them, but that's the only way to close those facilities down. Because here's the thing.
would you actually go ahead
100%.
and nuke them?
Because it's sequestered underground. If you ever go to Las Vegas, there's a city called Atomic City that's just
Yeah.
a few miles out of Las Vegas. We tested more than 2,000 nuclear weapons underground. So you go to Las Vegas, like, is everybody dying of radiation poisoning? You use a nuke underground, it sequesters the whole thing. For the most part, it's not problematic. So you use a bunker buster into a nuclear facility, it destroys the whole thing, and it highly irradiates the area underground. There's no way to recover the nuclear materials.
Why haven't they done that?
That's the point. So you would rather, what the US policy is, because the only other way to get those out is to invade the country. It takes more than 24 hours to breach a nuclear facility. They have giant steel doors and all these other things. When we do these operations with Delta Force and SEAL Team 6, those things plan for QRFs that attack them in minutes to hours. Okay, not days. So how are you going to deploy US troops to go raid a nuclear facility that is all bundled up and steel doors and all this other stuff unless you physically conquer the country or you have a rebel force that takes that facility? So you either invade the country, take the territory, take the facility, taking days to breach it because they're so far underground and they're concrete and steel reinforced, or you nuke it. Those are your only two options you have. So if we're prepared to change the regime of the country, that's one way of doing it. Or you use a nuclear bunker buster with it. Those are your two options. As an American, if I'm told those are my only two choices, absolutely I'd do that. And also you send a message to the Iranians that we are prepared to fight fire with fire. You build nukes, we use nukes. They'll never use them then. And so
Has that come across to every other nation? Like, has that come across to Russia? Well, I think also with Iran, you have China, which Trump is going after China because China, Panama Canal,
right.
Venezuela.
But what's China going to do? They're just going to buy more oil from the Russians, and that makes Russia a proxy state of China. Right now, the Russians are building one of the largest oil pipelines in the world to connect Russia and China so they can sell more oil to the Chinese. And actually, this is great for Russia, what we're doing right now, because they're now selling their oil for over $100 a barrel, whereas before oil prices were low. So you've just doubled the income to a country that's an enemy. Why would you do that? They can't sustain themselves at $30 oil. At $100 oil, they're a massive geopolitical threat to us. And if China doesn't buy oil from Venezuela and buy oil from Iran, the only place they're going to buy it from is Russia. Russia has enough oil to supply China for 200 years. They just have to build more pipeline infrastructure. But the Chinese don't do that for free. When they build the infrastructure, they buy the Russian companies. So that means more and more of the Russian economy gets bought up by China. And when Putin dies, the Chinese put the next guy in, and they run the country like they do all the Africans.
Which Russia and Putin don't want. And what
Exactly.
Putin would love is a relationship with the United States so he can go ahead and start obviously selling
Yes,
that oil
and Europe
to
and
Europeans and obviously, to the Americans.
But
So
they're cut off, and so their only option is to sell to China, and they know within 20 or 30 years, the Chinese will own them like they own Nigeria, and they own Zimbabwe, and they own all these places in Africa. The Chinese are deeply patient, and they don't lose any person, and by the way, they're also going to sell their technology, which they're already doing, to Iran. So the Iranians will get better drones and better missiles and better things and through China, and they'll exchange it for credit in the future for oil when we leave. So they'll do that, and they'll get oil at $10 a barrel because they have the Iranians over a barrel right now. And the Iranians will use drone tech. Now, why do the Chinese do that? Because they want to test the technology on the American military in preparation for their invasion of Taiwan. Was that a consideration as well? No.
wow.
There's no strategy, Dave.
You know what it is? The only thing that I can say to you, Charles, is, and obviously on most topics, me and you absolutely agree. The only thing, to me is I don't know what the fuck's going on in that briefing room. I don't think
Right.
none of us know. And I, look at I don't know if you watched the show earlier, but I was ripping into Senator Chris Murphy, excuse me, because he comes out of this Gang of Eight meeting and he's just spilling the beans. And then the
Right.
Democrats wonder, why don't they get any classified information, or why doesn't the Trump administration come to them and talk to them about what they're going to do? You can't do it because they're going to run onto television, they're going to run onto social media, and they're basically going to tell the enemy, okay, whether you like it or not, whether you like, us going there or not, they're spilling the beans about what we are
Right.
about to do. He goes out there and says, we have no plan. Well, how do you know that they have no plan? Like, we can sit back right now and say, like, it looks like that there's no plan. I mean, hypothetically, if you want to be an American citizen that sits back and looks at the situation and assesses it, you could say that. But how do we know that there's no plan? My whole
Right.
thing is, you, as a senator, Democrat or Republican, you serve the United States of
I
America.
agree completely. And
How do
that's-
you go on social media, one of the biggest platforms, and just say all this shit? And I'm just like, goddamn, you should be impeached.
Right. Well, then that's the one place where it's appropriate to arrest them. If they're leaking classified information to the general public, they've betrayed the trust. I have no problem with them being detained. I do when, it's don't follow illegal orders. That's a problem, because that's just an opinion and it's stating the law. It's another thing entirely when you leak operational details. The problem is we've already crossed the Rubicon on that. You have the Secretary of War be in a signal group with a bunch of people and add a journalist, and they're talking about war plans in it. So the Pentagon's made it very clear that they're very loose and porous with these details. So if they do it, the other guys do it. There's no consequences. And I agree, it's impossible to plan a war. The problem is that we have checks and balance in co-equal parties. The war power is nested in the House and Senate. George Washington and everybody else made that decision because the executive branch has a tendency to do war too much. We saw it with the British, we saw it with everybody else. So our Constitution's written that the war is declared by the House and Senate and executed by the executive branch. If you give the executive branch carte blanche, just go around and do whatever the hell it wants to do, first, we don't have enough money for it. And second, what prevents them from making mistakes, or at the very least asking if they have a basic strategy? So it would be one thing if he went to them and said, I need to do this. They said no. And then there was something that came up and he said, you know what? It's so essential. I'm just going to go do it. And he has 90 days under the War Powers Act to do it. He just did it without talking to them and then retroactively briefed them. And now is going to go to them to ask them to go give him $2 billion a day. And he's created a situation where if they say no, then we lose the war automatically. If they say yes, then they politically own something that they should have been consulted for. You're right, I'm not in the room, so I don't see the intelligence. But the problem is that he himself has been telling us stuff. Like after the June strike, he said they set the program back by 10 years and they'll never have a nuclear weapon because of the strike. How is it when their economy was destroyed, they're in a very bad state, their leader's 86 years old, not thinking very well, that they were magically able to reconstruct all their nuclear weapon capabilities when the president himself told us that they were decimated for a decade last year? I don't buy it. Meanwhile, the Israelis did a decapitation strike. They saw an opportunity to try to kill and change the regime of Iran. That is a very different mission than let's get rid of their nuclear capabilities. Now, we as a country can decide, do we want to replace this government, and what national security implications does that have? And are we prepared to go and deal with that? But we didn't get a vote or a voice. One person unilaterally decided in consultation with another country to go and do that and commit us to this. And we just lived the last 26 years of people doing this to us. And Trump ran saying, I will never do this. I'm the peace president. You see? So this is the problem for me. And it's something that it just eats away at the moral credibility of the regime and the judgment of the regime. And also it makes it hard for me to trust anything that they say. And then, we bomb the kids. No, we didn't do that. That's just all propaganda. Then they see the picture of the Tomahawk missile. Could have been someone else's Tomahawk missile. And then finally they roll it out. Okay, maybe it was us. And so, okay, so when you're willing to lie there, you're lying about everything. And then the casualties. When we first started, just 6 people died. Okay, only 6 people. Then magically, 10 days later, it's over 150 people injured. And there's no discussion of how that happened. I was like, how do you go from 6 to 150? You're telling me that no missiles are being shot anymore. Their capabilities are completely destroyed. They have nothing here. But then 150 people have magically been wounded, and we have no boots on the ground. So those people had to be wounded at U.S. military installations, which we're told are invulnerable because our weapon systems are so advanced. So where's the disconnect? Did they just fall off a stage and break their ankles? I mean, no, they got hurt with bombs, which means the Iranian weapons are actually penetrating our bases. So where's the press conference on damage assessments and these types of things? They're being hidden from us in the general public. So this is my problem. It's lie after lie after lie. The same people, by the way, who said Russia was going to be defeated in 4 to 8 weeks after invading Ukraine. 4 years later, millions of people dead. The Russians are still fighting this conflict. But that same group of people told us the Russians were going to be defeated in 4 to 8 weeks, and they were losing the war. And the Republicans at that point were saying, why are we funding this thing? We want real life answers because we don't trust the Biden administration. We think these guys are lying to us about what the state of Russia is and the state of the war is. Now the shoe's on the other foot. And the Democrats are basically being like the Republicans in 2022. And they're saying, what the fuck are you guys doing? Give us a strategy, consult with us, talk to us. We're a co-equal branch of government. Whether you like it or not, your Constitution says that we have a say in this matter. We control.
I think the only thing that happens is what I alluded to earlier was Senator Murphy is an example of you say something and they just run out to social media. And I would say this I said this earlier, if I don't care if it was Biden in office or Obama, and I don't give a fuck about your, party affiliation.
Right.
If you run out there and you start disrespecting, the administration, you take the things that you've learned about and you go out there publicly and you start throwing it out there, hints and stuff for our enemies. You said they should be arrested 100% and impeached from their seat.
And they'll never do it again if they actually understand when they open their fat mouth and leak classified information, there's consequences. Just because you're a senator doesn't mean you can leak classified information. You're entrusted to keep the nation's secrets. And the vast majority of the American people would probably support that. And sure, the partisan ones won't, but most people are pretty reasonable. Like, wait, you can't leak war plans. So that's the kind of stuff, and they only do it once, and then they won't do it again because they know that's the line. The problem is
Right.
in politics, there's no lines anymore. Everything is totally cool. You can call anybody a child molester. You can say anybody's a rapist. You can say anybody's done things. We don't just say, I disagree with you. It's like the opponent must be pure evil and satanic and all these other things. So because there's no lines anymore, people just keep doing every year more and more stuff. The embezzlement is another great example of it. Biden tried to hide, but absolutely there was corruption with Sinahawk and his son and all this other stuff, but he was trying to do it in a very subtle way. And the same for Obama and all these other guys, and Clinton with the speech fees. He made $100 million for the Clinton Global Initiative, but it was subtle. Then you got Kristi Noem now, where she gives $146 million for an ad campaign to a newly registered company that was formed 8 days before they gave the no bid award to the company, never done any contracting before, that was incorporated by a former political operative that worked for her when she was governor of South Dakota. And it's for a marketing campaign for making television ads. So first, the DHS is saying there's no one else qualified to do this for making television ads. We're going to give it to a company that didn't exist 8 days ago, that has no track record. We can't even find where it's at. And the company is incorporated by a related party to the head of the DHS. This is a reason why Trump fired her. It's not like she just disappeared for no reason. But when you do that, you've gone from hidden corruption to overt corruption, but there's no red lines. If you arrest people who do these types of things or investigate these things, they don't do it. To your point about leaking classified information, if a senator or a House member comes out and does that stuff, the FBI should put them in cuffs and you fight it out. And then every other one of them says, that's the line. I can't cross that line. But if we're not willing to do that, why are we surprised that they're leaking these things? And then we're basically saying we can't trust them, so we're now going to hide the information. Well, they have a constitutional right for that information, whether the president likes it or not. So at what point does the House impeach and remove the president? Because they have the power to do that.
Oh, that's coming if the Democrats win the midterms.
100%.
And they're going to impeach him 94 times. Nothing's going to get done.
Yeah,
that's why he's calling for a filibuster, to get all the, get everything done now before,
But the problem is the Republicans may actually jump on it if they think he's political dead weight. What if the Republicans get absolutely decimated and a supermajority belongs to the Senate and the House? The surviving Republicans are looking to 2028. They're not looking to 2024. And they say, well, in 2028, we're going to lose the White House convincingly. So maybe if we knock them out in 2027, put JD in, we have a better chance to clean up the mess. And there's enough there if they join on with the Democrats. That's the problem, and so we're not really sure where these things are going. And right now, Trump has no respect for the House or Congress. And any person who disappoints him, he just destroys them. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is a great example of that, who was his most loyal supporter until the Epstein stuff, and then he destroyed her. Or Thomas Massie, who voted with the president 96% of the time and was a very loyal supporter, and then he destroyed him because of one disagreement over one particular issue. So the Republicans say this president has no loyalty to us, and they follow him out of fear, not love. And they're afraid that they'll get burnt to the ground. But if he loses his ability to destroy them and they can survive the counterpunch, then they have to start thinking about the party. Because the Republican Party, who runs in 2028? And if this is the brand we're running into, failed wars, $5 gasoline, massive national debt, huge structural corruption, incompetent legislation, and the Democrats are winning landslide elections, and then they'll weaponize those elections for endless investigations, which will uncover more things. And all these mid-level corrupt people will roll on the top people, and then it looks like the Grant administration in terms of the endemic corruption. What point did the Republicans cut shit? They did that with Nixon. He had an ironclad control over the Republican Party, but they realized Watergate was too far. So they had to get rid of him and replace him and look to the future. So that's the danger of what's going on right now.
Well, I think the administration has to, end this war quickly.
Yes.
This operation/war quickly. I mean, gas prices, inflation, everything has been going down under Trump. It has, the numbers don't lie, right? And the numbers say that as soon as Trump took over, everything has gone down. Obviously, with this current operation, numbers have gone up, and hopefully we can end it. I'm anti-war, but to me, I'm on the side of, and yes, I'm not putting on combat boots. I'm not going out there, boots on the ground. I understand it's easy for me to say something. I'm in the studio here live with you on episode 682, sponsored by Midnight. I can go ahead and I can sit here and say whatever I want. I'm not out there in action, but you hold war for last resort. I think, to me, I keep on, forget about Israel. This has nothing to do with Israel, because everybody, oh, you're Jewish. No, trust me, nothing to do with Israel. I'm sitting back here and thinking, if Iran has a nuke, if they develop a nuclear weapon, and they will take everybody with them. They don't care. That regime does not care. And then are we liberators? There are 40,000 people got killed. 40,000 protesters got killed in Iran. Nobody talks about it, though. They got killed. 80 to 90% of the Iranian people don't want this regime.
Right.
It's up to them to stand up, though. And I've always said this. It's up to you, just like we did in America, man, when we fought the British.
Yeah.
We stood up.
But you have to have a regime change plan then. And you tell the American people it's time. That at least Bush had the courage. In 2002, it was the wrong call, but he went to the American people and said, we will replace Saddam Hussein. And he had the resolve and will to follow it through.
I hope that happens with, I really hope it happens here with, with this administration. I really do. Obviously, this is a crypto finance political show.
Yeah.
And I love it when you come on, we get into all political topics. But before you go, because I've been waiting, okay? Midnight is the official sponsor of this show, okay? We've talked about that for so long. Ever since you've been coming to my show for what, 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
2 years I've had the pleasure to have the GOAT on, okay? The GOAT, who says anything he fucking wants on the internet.
Yeah,
which I love.
Really
You don't hold back. There's no PC with Charles.
My foot's been in my mouth a lot.
You're gonna see him. You've seen him come back here on this show with bullet ants piercing his hands, him going to the Amazon jungle and all that good stuff. Midnight. The biggest issue that we have in crypto. By the way, congratulations to you and obviously Midnight with Binance, doing that whole airdrop. I mean, that's great. Phenomenal. It's a big issue in crypto. Privacy is a big issue. Huge issue. And I compare it to one example. How is somebody going to use cryptocurrency from, let's say, from a Fortune 500 standpoint? How are they going to use it, send out payroll, and have everybody within the company see what he or she is making? So you have two people that work the same jobs, work the same position. One X gets paid more than Y. And they see it now on the chain. You're causing chaos. Why would they ever want to go ahead and use crypto? Stablecoins, whatever it is, to go ahead and facilitate a transaction in terms of salary. That's why you have something like Midnight. So I wanted you to, your first time here with Midnight as a sponsor, I wanted you to just give the people a taste, 5 minutes of why Midnight is important. Because we've talked about Zeke. I've talked about Midnight too and stuff. And Monero. Why is Midnight important?
So Midnight is kind of the next generation of where the space needs to go. The space is getting old. It's getting stale. You and I, we've been in it for a long time. The narratives are always the same, this and this and this and this. And everybody's like, yeah, whatever. The revolution didn't happen. And first, I've been in. I talked to all these big companies and governments, and I said, hey, all you guys have these amazing research groups and prototypes and other things you build. Why is it after you do your blockchain pilot or proof of concept, you don't adopt it? Like, why isn't Microsoft running on a blockchain or Google running on a blockchain or IBM running on a blockchain when they build these products and they know these products and they never seem to reach mainstream adoption? And they always say the same thing. They say, look, we love the immutability, the timestamp, the irreversibility. We love all that. Awesome. But every business has secrets. Okay. And if I have payroll or medical records or disciplinary action or whatever the fuck, all that stuff, I can't put that in a system where everybody in the entire world gets to see that. Okay. Honda doesn't need to tell Toyota what it's doing.
Exactly.
You got to keep that shit secret. So here's the problem. If I try to adopt the blockchain and I put all this stuff in the blockchain, what's going to happen is that the whole world gets to see it. So why don't we have a private system? But then the minute they try to build a private system, it's off chain, it's centralized. So what the fuck is the point of the blockchain? To use a blockchain, I have to go through this other thing over here that's centralized and not auditable. So years ago, we started a big research program. We asked that very simple question. How do you build a system which equally takes care of the public side and the private side, both sides at the same time? Private smart contracts. You decide what's disclosed, what's not disclosed. And that turns out to be a ridiculously complicated thing to figure out. So we figured it out with Midnight. And what's magical about it is also, while figuring out, we realize there's two other things we have to kind of juggle with outside of the privacy: compliance and abstraction. So on the compliance side, how do you, in the same system, that's what we began this conversation with the Clarity Act, deal with regulated products like securities and bonds and real estate and all this other stuff, and unregulated products? If they're segregated systems, you've lost the blockchain world. So how do I bring the $10 trillion worth of assets in? I need smart compliance, just like I have smart contracts. Okay, so I need blockchain-based compliance systems. And then abstraction. How do I do this for everyone and every chain? So I need account abstraction where you don't have to give a shit how cryptocurrencies work. You don't have to know anything. It just works on your phone. Fingerprint PIN code just works on your phone. And you click a button like you do, because in Web 2, what's your experience? I push the button. Okay, I go to Google Play. I go to the App Store. I click the button. It installs. It's there. It's done. And we're moving to a password-free internet with passcodes, these things, right? You just click the button. You're logged in. I don't know how it works. I just click the button. It works, okay? So you need account abstraction, and then you pair that with intents. And when you put those two things together, then you say, this is what I want to do. And then something, an AI agent or a solver or something, figures out how to do that. And it could be 18 different fucking blockchains and 14 different tokens that are involved and some weird guy in Afghanistan. You don't give a shit. Okay. When you ask for a cup of coffee, do you really think very much about where those coffee beans come from and the magical
not
journey?
really.
You just want that coffee, right? I want a cup of coffee. Somebody else's job to figure out how to make that for me. So analogously, I want to use this thing in crypto. Somebody else's job, figure that out. So you need privacy with this, because if I know your intentions and I know your compliance information, I can use that against you. And in a system that's public, global, and everybody in the world gets to see it, that's a problem. So you put privacy with compliance, with abstraction, you put it together, and you give it to everybody in the blockchain space. We did a distribution, no ICO, no venture capital, no nothing, 7 different blockchains, 8 ecosystems, 33 million people were eligible, more than 1 million are in, and we're launching Midnight towards the end of the month. So the token launched in December. It's now on Binance. It's everything. It's the first Cardano asset to be listed on tier 1 exchanges. Binance was just yesterday, and actually come at the end of the month, the first generation of the network turns on. And every 2-3 months, because it's a rapidly evolving network, it's going to get a whole bunch of new features and capabilities, but also then go multi-chain. So you can be in Ethereum or Solana or Bitcoin, and you can pay in Bitcoin and Ether and Sol, and you just pay it like ChatGPT of privacy. You just pay, you just tell what you want, thing comes back out. You don't have to know how it works. That's the only way you build a consumer product. And my goal is to make Midnight the safest way to use crypto. The best way to have a Bitcoin wallet is through Midnight. The best way to have a Cardano wallet is through Midnight. Because we thought about the whole thing of how do you build it in a way where the user doesn't have to manage keys or think about all this other stuff. And how do you build it in a way that if you lose your phone or you lose your thing, you don't lose your crypto. inside this setup. There's a way to get around this whole thing. So that requires a lot of technology, requires privacy. The other thing is we built it in a way that it's equally important for big companies as it is little companies. Our launch partners and collaborators, the people starting with us, MoneyGram, Vodafone, Google Cloud, Telegram, Blockdaemon. These are not really small companies, man. These are pretty big. They're
A
literally
list of huge companies.
yeah, they're literally running the network, and because they see the value of this, they say, hang on a second here, all these confidential compute loads, we're spending trillions of dollars building these computers to do them for AI. Well, why can't we use that to scale our system so we can process billions of transactions? And because it's a ZK system, it's trustless. It's been done right, and it's done in confidential compute. They can't see what they're working on. 75% of all AI payloads are going to be done that way. So this instantly puts us in agentic commerce, the entire AI revolution, medical records, supply chain, payment systems, you name it, we got it. So we're real excited about it. It's kind of the next generation of doing things, and it's multi-chain from the beginning, multi-asset from the beginning. And really, we're focusing in on how do we bring 1 billion people into crypto, and how do we bring them in a way where, just bring you. We don't care what assets you come with. We'll figure it out. Somebody else's job. And just tell us what you want to do. Tell us the cup of coffee. We'll figure out how to make that cup of coffee for you. Somebody else will do that, build a marketplace for it. This is the retail moment. The other thing is you're in control. There's no escrow keys. There's no backdoor in this network. Creepy Sam Altman doesn't get to see everybody's stuff and masturbate gently in the corner. It's a protocol, just like Zcash Monero, right? There's no backdoor in the system. Selective disclosure is your job. And in an age of AI, this is really fucking important because I need to know I'm talking to a real person. I got a demo because I get all the state-of-the-art AI shit. Somebody was showing me there's an OnlyFans influencer who's actually a Korean dude. But he's doing live streaming as if he's a beautiful Korean woman, and he's got 1.3 million subscribers. Okay, so he's doing weird naked shit as a Korean girl, and it's like a 50-year-old fat Korean dude doing this. The
Wild.
future's bad, man.
Yes.
So I need to verify that's actually a Korean woman I'm looking at because I feel like bait and switched here. And so that's selective disclosure. Prove you are who you say you are. Prove you are actually part of this organization. Prove you're there. Prove you're there. But you have to be in the driver's seat, not some company. The problem with modern society is too much is controlled by too few. Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they have this enormous remit, and they have all this information on you. You have no idea what they're going to do and how they're going to use it. And, there's wonderful books like on surveillance capitalism about how pervasive and damaging this is. And then on the government side, you got Palantir with the ontology, where they're creating literally a clone of the United States, and then they're using it for person of interest. It's really creepy. So you should be in charge of your identity, your data, and your money. So the other side of Midnight is make it so easy. One chain can be used for all assets and all identity, and you are in the driver's seat about what you share and how you share. And how you share is with zero knowledge proofs. You prove things, but you don't reveal the underlying data. You prove you're a U.S. citizen. You prove that you're over 18. You prove that that's post-tax money. But all I get is the proof. I don't get the data. I don't get to know it's David Gokhshtein or any of these things. But that's all I need. I need to know it's safe to do business with you. I say, I have this proof. Okay, yeah. I don't know who the fuck the guy is, but that's okay. It's all right. I can do business with this guy. It's fun. You see, and it's the same for medical records. Like you go to the hospital, how do I authorize that your medical records can be shared? Well, I need to verify you actually have the right to do that. What if you're unconscious? There's a lot of things here, and this is what Midnight seeks to solve, are these hard problems of sharing and collaboration when people don't trust each other. Microsoft doesn't trust Apple. Toyota doesn't trust Honda. But yet if they work together on certain things, it's better for us as the consumer, it's better for society, but they can't get there because they don't trust each other. So Midnight is the trust fabric, and you say what's public, you say what's private, you decide what the rules of the relationship are. That's ultimately what compliance should be. Make it ridiculously easy for everybody to do it on a cell phone, one-click experience, and it's good to go. And then you have the ChatGPT of privacy. You have all these amazing tools like Zero Knowledge and MPC and FHE. It's my magnum opus, man. I've been working on this for a very long time. I have an army of scientists, army of engineers. This is my legacy. Midnight is what I think is going to finish what we started in the cryptocurrency space. It's the last cryptocurrency that needs to exist. And after that, we got everything else. It's the thing that's going to onboard everybody from the governments to the billionaires, all the way down to the farmer in Senegal, because it finishes the job for all of them. Last point is sovereignty. We think about cryptocurrencies as us versus the man. But I had dinner once with Prime Minister of Georgia, this country in Eastern Europe, not the state. And I said, hey, how come you never issued a stable coin, a digital lari? And he said, we wanted to, but we were not allowed to. I said, you're the prime minister of the country, like 70% approval rate. How are you not allowed to do this? He said, the IMF came in. They said, if we issued a stable coin, they'd cut us off. We'd lose all financing. So imagine that. Your country, you're the leader of your country. You got 7 out of 10 people in your country that like you, so you can do whatever the fuck you want to do. And you're not allowed to make decisions about your country's currency as the leader of your country. Some transnational body comes in. So there is a strong appetite amongst mid-sized to small countries, as much as there is amongst everyday people, about how do I restore my sovereignty in the 21st century? Because like we talked about following the law, 60 different standards. You can't. So you know what you do? Who's going to put me in jail? China or the United States? I'll follow their laws. What about Ethiopia? Well, I mean, if you know what I mean, do we really need to? Come on. And that's 100 million people. What, they don't fucking matter? So how does that country get some representation on the global stage? Midnight can be used for that, because when you do these compliance things, you're setting up in the structure that they have to follow that particular law for that particular contract. So you can project that into the world, and you actually can create legal systems where Ethiopian law is equivalent to American law or Chinese law or Russian law. So a lot of mid-sized countries are super excited about this, like Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and legacy countries like the UK that used to have the friendship reminder fleet, and anytime you didn't follow them, they just sent some ships and they would remind you how much you love them. They don't got that fleet anymore. They got more admirals than they got ships. So nobody gives a shit about UK law. And they're pretty bitter about that. They're like, we used to be the guys. We go to them, we say to the FCA, we say, hey, you could use a system to actually force UK law to be followed in trade finance and all these other things for the parties that are involved. They're like, oh man, we like that. George Osborne spoke at the launch party for Midnight, as did the former head of the MI5. They were like, yeah, we really, really like this thing. This is amazing. So it's, you have something special when Google shows up for the party. The UK government's showing up for the party. Small African countries are showing up for the party. Eastern European countries showing up for party. And everyday people are showing up for the party. It's a very special thing. And it's because it brings everybody together. And also, I never have to be a maximalist anymore. I don't care if the user comes from Ethereum or from Solana or from Bitcoin. I get to be David Gosh. I get to be friends with everybody, talk lovingly about everybody. The days of tribalism, factionalism, is over. We're just going to do it right. So if you like it, midnight.network, go take a look, play around with it. Network's launching soon. At the end of the month for the first generation of it. It's kind of a guarded launch, and block by block it wakes up, similar to what we did with Cardano in the past, but much faster. And every 2 to 3 months, new shit turns on. We even have an agentic civilization powered by Midnight, Midnight City, midnight.city. And actually, in just a few weeks, probably towards the end of April, you should be able to actually buy your own agents and put them into Midnight City. So you have an agentic civilization powered by Midnight, processing thousands of transactions. So it's just cool. We get to be on the forefront of stuff and do a lot of really interesting things with it. And I hope it works, because at the end of the day, if it does, you get your privacy back, you get your sovereignty back, you get your data back. You're in control, not the federated bank coins.
I watched you on your tour. You look like you have another jump in your step. You are just like, you are taking every interview. I've seen all the sit down interviews that you took on. You look like you got your soul back. Like, this is it. And privacy is a big thing. And a lot of people that I talk to, they were like, I forgot everything. I forgot that I'm not anonymous. And that's what's creeping up in everybody's head right now. It's like, I forgot. Because now they see the Midnight logo, they're like, what is it? And we start talking and they're like, oh, privacy. I'm like, yeah. Like, you just because you think you're anonymous out here, people can still see everything that you do on chain.
Yeah.
Like, not that you're trying to hide anything too. I just want to make this very clear. And I say this all the time. I'm not trying to hide anything from the 3-letter agencies or anything. But it's just like, I don't want anybody to know my net worth. I don't think you do. I don't think anybody does.
And it's
you become a
dangerous.
target.
It's so dangerous. Yeah, look at all the kidnappings. 305 kidnappings in the cryptocurrency space the last 5 years. And also, just think about some of the poorest, most vulnerable people. Let's say it's refugee financing. Do you, as a refugee, want to publicly announce to everybody in the world that you have just received an aid payment? Like, what happens when that, because a gang will show up and rob you and say, all right, well, everybody in this village over here just got a bunch of money from the US government. Let's go take it. We ran into this problem in El Salvador when Bukele, because I flew out there and I spent some time with him, and I just asked their Ministry of Justice, I said, what's your strategy for dealing with the airdrop? Because they were going to drop Bitcoin to everybody in the country. I said, won't MS-13 like show up to all these small villages and just line everybody up at the ATM and have them withdraw their airdrop and hand it to them? They're like, oh, that's a good point. We need to figure out like some mitigating function. So you need anonymity with these systems, for heaven's sakes. Nobody's business how much money you make, and nobody should know when you've been paid and how much is in your bank account. And it's just as good for the big company. We talk to the custodians, and all their big clients are like, we don't feel comfortable every time we trade crypto, especially these large financial institutions like Goldman Sachs or BlackRock. And the markets know that, because when we trade in the banking system, nobody knows that. That's secret. So why is crypto public? We don't want those positions to be revealed. People trade against them. So you have a God-given right to privacy. You cannot trust a government or company to enforce that. You can only trust a protocol to do that, because at some point, somebody's going to make money by violating your privacy. And that person is going to get powerful enough to bypass the system and fuck you. So you have to have a system that, whether you're the farmer in Senegal getting a State Department payout or a multi-billion-dollar company, you have the exact same system. Everybody plays by the exact same rules. And that's why we built Midnight for everyone. Okay. We didn't care if it was Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever. Every cryptocurrency user deserves their privacy back. So make it simple and easy to use, make it easy to embed in applications like ChatGPT. It's going to spread like wildfire, and everybody's going to say that's just a good idea for us to do this. By the way, the US government is going to want this. Look at Venezuela. They just replaced, the leader, and now they got this new leader. You know what they're doing right now? They're doing, Benjamin Franklin diplomacy. The big pallets of cash are showing up, paying off certain people. And so, because they want the government there to be friendly to the United States. So how do they hide that they're paying Venezuelan government officials to be pro-United States? They need some sort of technology to give those Venezuelan officials some privacy, right? Yeah. So you're starting to see, it's like, it seems like everybody kind of needs this in some way for some use case at some point. Yeah, because it's a God-given right, and it's important for statecraft. It's important for trade finance. It's important for competitive intelligence. It's important for your medical records. It's important for clinical trials. It's important for all these different things. It's very important. So we need to be able to keep those things private. So that's why I built it. It's the last major ecosystem I think I'm going to build in the cryptocurrency space. It's the most complicated thing I've done. We're doing lattice-based cryptography. We're doing magic fucking moon math. We're trying to figure out how to beat quantum computers. This is not easy shit, man. It's so hard. It's even with AI, it's so fucking hard. It's like I have to read like 400 papers a week. It's so insane. But I've never been having more fun, because it feels like we're getting back to what Satoshi started, and we're stepping outside of all of the problems of the cryptocurrency space. We don't need to find use cases. We already have them. And crypto is always like this solution seeking a problem. Like, why use crypto? I don't know. Like, why do I really need that? It's pretty self-evident. Do you want your Google search history, all the things you've been talking to ChatGPT about, your Amazon shopping cart, and all your bank records to be public to everyone everywhere? No? Well, then use my thing, because then you'll get a guarantee that that's not the case. So, oh yeah, I think I need that thing. That thing sounds really good. I should use that. So we actually have an execution problem, not a market demand problem. There's unlimited market demand for this, and execution's easy. You just find a bunch of 25 to 35-year-old engineers and scientists that want to make a path in life, and they're willing to work 110 hours a week. And you work with them, and you just keep them sufficiently motivated, and they're an infinite supply of Mountain Dew. And somehow magically the code just materializes, and it's all there, right? So we're kicking ass. We've never shipped software faster. You look at what we did with Linux Foundation, Decentralized Trust, the Nightstream project.
Yeah.
Every fucking 2 weeks, we have a release for that lattice-based folding system. It took A16Z and Jolt like 4 years to build what we've built in 4 months with what we've got. So the execution's never been faster. for this entire thing. It's pretty magical. And we learned a lot from Cardano. We learned everything we did right, everything we did wrong, everything we had a frustration with. We fixed it. We're not stupid people. It's like we can do a retrospective and say, what did we do wrong? So, it's like when you have a brilliant but tragically flawed, movie, you can go back and say, well, what was the good part? What was the bad part? And you can just make something better, right? So we
Yeah.
learned a lot in the process. So I'm real proud of that, and I'm real proud of the team. And I have great partners like Fahmy Syed at the Midnight Foundation. He's just a good guy, and Mike Ward, CEO of Shielded, he's phenomenal. And there's now hundreds of people who are ambassadors at Midnight. They call it the Night Force, and we just have a lot of fun with them. Midnight City and Agentic Civilization. They're like, we got this stuff. It's so cool. And it's just moving by leaps and bounds and so incredibly quickly. And we know we're on the forefront because some of the marketing ideas that were so far out there, like, did you read recently the Dish Brain computer playing Doom?
Yep.
We worked with Cortical Labs on that. We if you went to Token 2049 or to Rare Evo, we had at our booth the Cortical Labs CL1. Remember, we did Hydra Doom a few years ago, so we started working on the implementation of Doom into the Dish Brain computer. So our guys are so far ahead. We have human brains in a fucking dish playing Doom. I'm not sure what the fuck we're gonna do with this. That's how out there our guys are. This is how ambitious our guys are. It's pretty crazy, that they're thinking about this stuff and they're pushing this stuff. So when you have those kinds of people in the room, you're not going to lose. You're going to get this shit done. So check it out, Midnight.network. We're real glad to have you be part of the story. And what's really cool is there's a lot of apps that I want to build for shows like yours to help you monetize and, like micro tipping and prediction markets and these things. And I think there's new ways to build relationships with the audience. So it's not a passive affair. Anytime someone uses Midnight, we're always thinking, can we innovate or build something on Midnight to really take it to the next level?
I just want to say I'm glad to be a part of it, and also I'm glad to see the rollout. And I'm glad that you just said what I've been saying for fucking years. We make it really fucking complicated here. People just want to grab their phone, just like they grab their phones and get onto X or they get onto Instagram or Discord, whatever it is. They don't care about the coding. They don't care how it was made. They just want to know that it works. That's it. And when you just said that, when you were explaining that from the beginning, that's all that people want. And that's been the biggest problem in crypto. We all come out with our C++ and the Pythons and Solidity and this, that. Nobody cares. And I speak, there might be 1% that are into it and they'll goon off to it. Excuse my language. But everybody else, they just want to use it. If it can protect them, if it can help them, they're down to use it. And if it's easy to go ahead and use, and the brand experience, they'll use it. But if you start going into code, they're out. They're out. That's not what they came here for. They didn't come here to become computer programmers. So I do appreciate you. You are the GOAT. Okay, you've been here for so long. I know you're no longer on X, but you can find. I know you can find you at, or they can find. Everybody can find you on Discord, right? Everybody can go ahead and find you on Discord if they want to go ahead and chat. And I appreciate you, man. I appreciate the conversation.
I love working with you and love talking to you, man. It's a lot of fun. We got to build some cool shit on Midnight and go to Midnight City. We're gonna get you on. You're gonna love it. Agentic Civilization. I gotta go. I'll talk to you soon, David.
Bye, Charles. That is Charles, the creator of, let's say the co-founder of Ethereum, the founder of Cardano, and now the creator of Midnight. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh, wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promised to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. All the broke-ass crypto influencers who are probably talking about AI have gathered in the comments to go ahead and say some stupid-ass shit. But welcome back to the Breakdown episode 682, sponsored by Midnight. Some weird-ass people here. Shout out to them. Well, some of these people are selling ebooks. And they don't want me to come back onto TikTok and do lives out here so I can take their entire audience, but let me stop. Let me stop. I want them here. They still, I think some of the, like I was reading during the commercial break, some of these cats think that I'm going to actually block them. I'm telling you right now, I don't know if you just don't understand English. You will stay here. You will be a part of every single one of my stream. You will enjoy it. You will love it. And I appreciate you because ratings go up, up, up and away. Up, up and away. A lot of these guys don't get, obviously they don't get sponsorships. So they're reduced to selling ebooks and telling you that XRP is going to 3,000 to $6,000 to $25,000 per token by next week. We've seen it. Remember? By the new year, it was supposed to be XRP going to from $169 to $25,000. Tune in, must tune in, and cop my ebook. Too easy, man. Anyway. By the way, I want to share this because it's. I'm gonna share it again because I'm gloating. And I want to gloat. So here we go. We're gonna go ahead and who's the most popular stream right now on Getter? It's me. I'm the most popular stream on Getter right now. And I'm right up there. Right up there with the real American voice. You got the Charlie Kirk show. InfoWars. So it's nice. It's definitely nice. 100%. Big shout out. Listen, obviously, Charles is a good friend. Charles is absolutely a great friend. He's come on to this show so many times. One of the first major names to come on to the show. Besides all the other notable names that have come on here from the Michael Saylors, Arthur Hayes, I can keep going. Patrick Bet-David. So You got a bunch of people, and there's a lot more people coming on this year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to go ahead and chat it up. And it's not only even going to be about crypto. It's not everything has to be about crypto. We might go ahead and talk about crypto, but for the most part, the conversation, a lot of it is going to be political. And some might just be pop culture. I don't fucking know. Listen, on a lot of things, I'm going to, and I told Charles, like, at the end of the day, when it comes to the situation in Iran, I rather have what's happening now. Because and I hate war. I'm anti-war. But at the end of the day, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That's it. And you know what? We don't know what intelligence the Trump administration has that the public doesn't know about, and we shouldn't know about it. Because you saw Senator Chris Murphy ran onto social media and started talking about everything. And then the Democrats, these radical lefties, want to know everything. And they wonder why they're excluded from the conversation. Well, you're excluded because we don't need to give out our intelligence to countries that hate us. Soon as you come out of the gang of 8 meetings, you race onto you look for the nearest camera, or you race onto social media to go ahead and tell everybody, our enemies, about what's happening and what's taking. What? No. And yes, obviously, both parties don't like each other. There's some Republicans and Democrats that get along, but most, they don't like each other. The Democrats, the liberals, left, the radical lefts, they just hate Trump. What are they running on? I mean, if they win the midterms, they're going to just win it based on we hate Trump. That's it. They're not they have done 4 years on the Biden. They did nothing. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Dog shit. Nothing. 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 Biden gave us inflation. If you want to talk about the things that he gave us, well, Biden gave us inflation. Biden gave us higher rates. Biden wasn't even in office. He didn't even know. Biden didn't even know where he was. Biden had no clue where he was. Kamala Harris was at the bar. So you had the president of the United States of America. He didn't know where the hell he was. He didn't even know he was president. And Kamala Harris, she was at a bar. So who was running the country? You had one guy running around with aviators in diapers, drinking in shore and going to sleep at 4 p.m. Yeah, Kamala Harris, she was getting it on at 4 p.m. at the local tavern. Who was running the country? Goddamn president is falling. Biden, I've never seen it. I'm going to repeat it. I've never seen it. A guy falling over sideways on a bicycle. I've never seen some shit like that in my life. Hold on, we got to play this. You know what? I won't play it. Maybe I'll play it tomorrow. Kamala Harris speaking. I didn't even know what the fuck she was saying. We have been unburdened from the unburdened. What the fuck does that mean? Biden was just, Biden would literally, hold on. Biden would literally put on, he'd be out in his aviators. He'd be out in his aviators, okay? He's out in his aviators. And he's standing there talking at some press conference, okay? He's talking at a press conference. He starts off, some words are coming out. It's like, the people, America, it's America. And he starts yelling. A sentence in, he starts yelling and he's all over the place and he's like, oh, and the IHOP worker. What? What is happening? This was like a bad skit. 4 years. 4 years. This was like a horrible skit. And CNN is sitting there saying like, nothing's wrong with Biden. Nothing's wrong with Biden. Biden's running around doing marathons around the White House. We can't keep up with him. This is what the administration was saying. We can't keep up with Biden. We can't keep up with him. We can't keep up with Biden. Crypto Glenn just left the room because he can't stand the fact that I might do some live streams and take away his people. They'll have another emergency press conference. See, people, it's very easy. I feel like the Joker at times. It's very easy to see when people are full of shit. To say that I don't bring value here, people know I do. You know why? I've been here way too long, longer than you. That rhymed, and I should definitely copyright that. See, they get value from this. They do, because of the people that I bring on. That's why people stay. They know. And when I talk, I do bring value. I bring facts, and it might be facts that you don't want to hear about. You came into this room saying that you wished for something to go to zero. How is that being a crypto bro? How is that wanting to see anything actually be productive in the crypto space? Somebody who comes in here to say that he hopes that something goes to zero. I'm sure you're still lurking here. And I'm sure your fans are too. The 3 people that come and watch you, I'm sure they're still here. Everybody can have their favorite content creator. Then why are you in this goddamn room? If that is your... This is what I don't understand about people. You guys come in here, you want to troll, but when I smack the shit out of you, oh my God, I'm offended. Please stop. I'm offended. No. No. Don't be sensitive. You dish it out, I dish it right back. It's all love, right? This is what I'm talking about. It's Republicans or MAGA people who claim to have voted for Trump who are disguised as fucking liberals and sensitive individuals. That's it. They smack, and when you smack back, they run. They don't like. See, people, bullies, they don't like to be smacked back. Bullies don't like to be smacked back. See, if a person had a genuine opinion or any value, they'd be in here having the conversation. They'd be in multiple rooms having a conversation. Plenty of people that come into my show have conversations. They might disagree with me, but they'll go ahead and lay out the foundation of why they disagree with me. They're not throwing shots. They're not swinging their dicks around. They're not doing any of that. That's low T energy. I see it from a mile away. I've been here 13 years. I've been 10 years doing this. Been here for a very long time in the crypto industry. Please. I see that. I came onto TikTok. Let me tell you something. By the way, obviously we have grown out here and we continue to grow. But I came onto TikTok. These motherfuckers had a heart attack. Okay? They were fucking holding press conferences. They were holding chats, live chats, discussing how do we take him on like it's the war room or some shit. That's it. That's all it is. It's people that don't, most of the time, and I hate going into this, right? Because I didn't start it. I'm just finishing it, right? I don't want a problem. If you want a problem, no problem. It's one of those things. It's what Fiddy said, man. I don't want no problems, but you want a problem, no problem. You came into my show and you're taking shots, so I'm going to take shots right back. There ain't nothing that I've heard. There are like 4 or 5 creators, and let me specifically say on TikTok, 4 to 5 creators that actually bring value. The rest are selling you an ebook. Congratulations. I ain't selling you shit. I don't need to. I can have 30 sponsors, legitimate sponsors on this show. 30. Easy. And only sponsors that come onto my show are brand names. That's it. I hate getting into this because I need to focus on the audience. I need to focus on the people that come here, whether it's for politics, whether it's for crypto, finance. I need to focus on these people. I love the fact that Cooper over here shops at Baby Gap, okay? Well, he doesn't actually shop at Baby Gap, but his grandma takes him to Baby Gap. She gets him some fly gear so he can sit in his basement and watch me all day long. Love the fact that him and the missionary guy or machinery, whatever his fucking name is, nobody cares. Nobody even knows they exist. Nobody cares about them. I'm their father figure right now. I'm their father figure right now. They come here because they need a father figure. This is the problem. Not enough fathers in the households. And that it leads to this shit. Right here. So yeah, while you guys have to sell ebooks, I don't need to. I call up, you want to sponsor my show? Hey, I have a fucking political show coming out. You want to go ahead and sponsor? Absolutely. Without even thinking. Sponsorship. Without even thinking. Meanwhile, you're sitting there on your ripped ass couch that's a hand-me-down. Not from generations, but a hand-me-down from the Salvation Army. You're sitting on that couch, still got that Walkman on, that Sony Walkman, and you're watching me. You're watching me. Remember that. I'm sitting here, you're watching me. I bring on the greatest guests in the world, the most notable people in the world come onto this show, and you're watching me. And I'm not even angry. Blood pressure, not even up. BPM is at 57. That's it. And how can the crypto space be full of so many liberals? After everything that Biden tried to do to crypto, we still got these freaking radical left crypto bros here that probably had, that they were probably wearing white men for fucking Kamala Harris sweatshirts. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Fucking insane clown posse. That's a name that you guys should rock with. Not the actual band that sucks, but the insane clown posse. That's how you guys should go by. You guys should start a show and call it Insane Clown Posses. And sell your ebooks. Hey, check this out. And just notice, every single influencer on TikTok just talks about XRP. Nothing wrong with XRP, but they know where the mind share is on XRP, and that's XRP. They know where the mind share is within crypto, and that's XRP, so they say XRP. They don't believe in this shit. They don't even know how XRPL works. They have no clue who David Schwartz is. They haven't seen a picture of Brad Garlinghouse. They don't even know who Chris Larson is, okay? Nothing. Ripple doesn't follow them like they follow me, like nothing. Okay, and they give you these exaggerated numbers of $50,000 XRP. Okay, that's all they can say to sell you a goddamn ebook. There you go. Welcome to the breakdown. I don't know what you heard about me. I don't know what you heard about me. welcome to the breakdown. I want to thank everybody for coming in to the show today. I really do. I appreciate you guys. 100%. Whether you love me or you hate me, I appreciate you. Haters even more. I say it all the time. I love the hate. Some people might not just truly love when people come here and they spend 2 hours of their day in my show, okay? While I'm sitting here getting paid, you're not, and you're sitting here and watching me, and you're boosting my ratings, and that's all I want, and I love it. I love it. I love it. So when the stats need to be shown, here you go. Like Milkshake, right? I'm going to attack everybody on TikTok today. I'm going to just undress people today for who they are. Like Milkshake, right? In every show. Every single show. Hates me, doesn't like me, every show. Every single show. She's here. Milkshake. What does she do for a living? She moderates. She has it on her resume. She has it on Indeed. She goes for a job interview on Indeed. I'm a TikTok moderator. I'm a whole moderator. Biggest accomplishment, try to send David to fucking detention. Oh, they're gonna be punching fucking air tonight. Shout out to Tech. Shout out to Fran. Shout out to the GOATs, the moderators for this chat. They're goated to go ahead and have to moderate this chat on TikTok. You gotta be goated because you got a bunch of soy jacks that come in here every single day and they're fucking crying about something. They take their fucking lunch breaks. They put down their goddamn protesting posters. They come here. The 30-minute breaks from campaigning on some anti-Trump bullshit that they're getting paid for by Soros. They come into this room to hear me every day. And Tech and Fran have to deal with these motherfuckers. Have to deal with them every single day. I couldn't. Anyway, I haven't even looked where crypto's at today. I haven't even looked at the markets, even though Landy broke them down. We're under $70,000 now. We're at 69,887 with Bitcoin. We're still at 2,052 on Ethereum. Solana's at 86. Total market cap still hasn't changed. It's still at $2.48 trillion. Bitcoin dominance is at 56.8. Fear and greed index is at 18. So there you go. That's where that stands. Choppy, take advantage. Like I said, it's very simple. You don't have to get all technical. You don't have to go ahead and listen. Shout out to Landy, greatest TA guy of all time. But you don't have to take out charts and start. No, it's just like it's very simple. Here's simple. Okay, here's simple. Stupid. Front run everybody. Your friends, the banks, the institutions, just front run everybody. You believe in Bitcoin, you believe in your XRP, you believe in Ethereum and Solana and BNB and Litecoin, Monero, whatever it is, you believe in it, front run it. That's it. It's simple. And wait, right now, just like every wealthy individual, they get in the red, they scale out in the green. It's that simple. There doesn't need to be an hour course on how simple investing is. Okay, it doesn't need to take an hour to understand it. It's very simple. Are you going to win one? No. Is it guaranteed in terms of, are you guaranteed to win? No. Do you have a better chance of winning by going into actual assets that have actual founders that are front facing, that are building something, that have products that are easy to use, whether it's for institutional, bank, or retail participants? Those are the things you look at. That's it. It's very simple. The only hard part about this entire thing is taking profits. That's it. Taking profits is the hardest thing to do for every single person. It's just a very hard thing to do. That's it. A lot of people, you got Cooper. He makes $3. No, he doesn't even make money. Okay, he gets a welfare check. But for anybody who actually works, right, who's joined the crypto system, the crypto industry, a lot of you guys have never made $40,000 in a year. Yet you get up 500 grand and you refuse to take out. You get money that you've never seen in your life. You've got into the right trade. You've never seen this kind of money in your life. You don't take out. You don't take out. And that is the biggest problem. Honestly, it's not even a big problem doing the research. Research is easy, especially with all the ChatGPTs and the Google Geminis and Claudes, whatever. Name all the systems. It's not even hard. You have it easy. You have all the programs and the tools to absolutely win, right? Or give yourself a better chance. You have that. The hardest part is to take profit. That's it. That's all it comes down to. How do I take out profits? When do I take out profits? Do I have any game plan? A lot of you guys don't have a game plan. You have a worthless ebook that has been given to you or sold to you by some random crackhead. That's all you have. You don't have an actual game plan. You haven't done the studying. You haven't put time into this. You're in dog shit assets. Look at your portfolio. I don't have to say no more. If you're scared right now, that's only because you've gone into dog shit. That's it. But the markets are easy. If you actually do the research, you listen to everybody, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, and then you actually write everything down, and then you formulate your own thesis, you have the ability to win. You have a better chance of winning. And you're not scared during down markets either, because you've done what everybody does. You scale out respectfully, okay? And you have money on the side from scaling out, and most wealthy people go back in. Bitcoin, 127. During its rise, you're scaling out, and then it goes right back down into this area. You're buying back in, right? Because it's going to go back up again, and now you're going to make more profit. Or you're going to make more Bitcoin, I should say. Forget about the profit end of Bitcoin. Easy. Easy. But you know what? You'd rather waste your time. Don't be the crackheads in this room. I'm going to, and I'm sorry because I have Twitter viewers and I have other viewers that are tuning in right now, but don't be like TikTokers. The trollers on TikTokers, they're not trying to learn. They're trying to be seen and visible. They ain't making nobody money. You trolling me ain't making you money. That's why you don't got a girl. And that's why your mans don't want to look at you. Okay? It's either or. You should have this pen out right now, writing. And imagine this. I'm gonna hit you with something right now that'll leave you stumbled. Imagine fading a Jew. You talk about Jews make money and Jews run the world. Now imagine fading a Jew that is talking to you. Oh my God. I don't know what you heard about me. Thank you very much for tuning in. It is 2:58 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The breakdown will be back tomorrow, Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll have Landy at 12:15 p.m. He'll break down the markets. He'll give us a recap of the markets. He'll tell us where he sees everything going. It'll be episode 683. We'll have a guest on as well. Shout out to the sponsors, Midnight, Cake Wallet, and Polymarket. Shout out to the sponsors. Shout out to the moderators on TikTok. Tech, Fran, follow them. Not only are they good moderators, but they have excellent content. episode 683. It's 683. Not 684. 83. Anyway, no quotes here, but I'll leave with this. I do hope that Trump, within the next week or two, we're done with Iran. That a new regime, a good regime too, comes into play. And we get back to business. That's it. Inflation coming down, rates coming down, the economy's good. And if somebody says that the economy's mad, well, you know what? They need to level up their lives. Because they're either getting paid to go ahead and say these things, or they need to level up in life. Bottom line. Okay? That's it. Crypto will make the comeback. I believe so, 100%. Wholeheartedly, crypto will make a comeback. Maybe it'll take some time. It's sideways. It's opportunity. It really is an opportunity for you to get into some of these plays right now and wait a few months and see them absolutely go parabolic. Will everything win? No. But position yourself correctly. Get rid of the dog shit in your wallet. That's all I'll say. Get rid of the dog shit in your wallets. And again, I go back to, I want to go back to politics real quick and say, I salute the brave men and women of the military. Thank you very much again for serving this country, for going out there and protecting our freedoms, allowing me to sit here today and just, again, talk into a microphone and look into a camera and discuss finance and obviously have political conversations with my audience and for anybody who's watching. Internationally, which is cool now. That's dope as fuck. So on that note, I hope everybody has a marvelous day. Even my haters, I wish you nothing but the best. I hope one day you realize that, you know what? You can be better. You can be better. 6 months down the line, you'll probably become my fan. And that's always, that always happens. My haters become my biggest fans, and then I need new haters. So I encourage hate in terms of haters for me. I encourage the haters to come and participate in every show. Anyway, Midnight, Cake Wallet, Polymarket. And I probably didn't say this today. I am ridiculously good looking. High IQ. Know my topics, know my subjects, understand how to bring value to the table. That's right. I said it. There you go. If you had that on Polymarket, God bless you. That's what? 378 days in a row that I've said that about myself. Anyway, on that note, I'm out.